charger? There's something here. Does that help you? We have 2 phones or one? Oh, charger actually. Oh, what's the charger? That's feature. That's a charger. You just plug it into that. Why don't want to get that? Yeah. We plug it in all the time. So this thing only speeds up with this. And how long is that? How many charges is that? But then you're also charging that. So now you basically have 3 charges, in a sense, right? Everything is full. Can you what? Oh, see, that's it. How does it charge? It charges off of that, right? You have to plug, no, what I'm saying, you have to plug it in. No, what I'm saying, when you want to charge your phone, you don't sit it on that. You know what I mean? You have those ones that you can just.
Slow Morris.
Yo. Well, I guess we'll deal with some more of the water. Those plants are all right.
Oh, actually, no, I didn't freaking water them. I forgot. Yeah.
Handle that shit, water, man.
Islam Morris. Let's get started up.
You all right, Tommy?
Face the east, 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. My salvation.
My salvation.
By night and by day. His holy prophet. Islam, Morris. Getting there slowly and surely. We'll be back. Let's start off with our readings to be read. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their home, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble to Ali. And if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet therefore is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble to Ali. Islam. Islam. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now, by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head, It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is the instruction from your Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. A couple things to go through today. Brother Omar gave me the, I think it was the Share newspaper last week. People talking crazy in that. Go over some of that. Justin, we'll pass this around for everybody. Governor General Sir Patrick Allen has suspended personal use of this insignia of Saint Michael and Saint George, which depicts a white man described as an archangel with his foot on the neck of a black man cited as Satan. The Governor General also says he asks his office to immediately review all insignias that may be considered racialized or cultural. Oh yeah, I need this. Yeah. These online people. You already know.
Give me that shit back.
Need that. The Governor General also says he asks his office to immediately review all insignias that may be considered racialized or culturally inappropriate. Right, so that's the picture of the archangel, which is quote unquote white, and the black man, which is Satan, getting stepped on. And they're saying, and then of course the right. So that's part of the whole thing with why we don't deal with the word black and stuff like that, because that's what happens to the devil, because black equates to the devil. Right? Did you ever you know that guy in your shirt?
You know, so I'm not even know how the shirt still.
Well, let me give you some. All right. Well, let me show you how in tune you are with what's on your shirt. So that individual is a wrestler, ex-wrestler, Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Roddy Piper has a movie. He was in a movie called They Live. Yeah. Go watch that movie, and then you'll see why he wore the shirt.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I will watch movie.
Yeah. That's one. That's one to watch. Yeah. That's one to watch. Yeah. That's just how the energy. Yeah. Oh, you never seen it? Yeah, that's a good one to watch. Yeah, it's old, you know what I mean. So the acting is kind of, you know what I mean, whatever. But the concept of it, right, what we're dealing with right now. Yeah. Same stuff that's right now. Yeah, that's in the movie. Right. Yeah. You know, it wasn't nothing, big blockbuster or nothing like that. But the message in it, made the point. I think he might have died by now. I can't remember.
I used to watch it.
Yeah.
So about that now,
yeah. He played a good guy in the movie still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He played good in the movie.
Yeah.
But him not good.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's all right. Yeah. He wasn't one of the bad wrestlers or whatever. He was on the good side, so it's all right.
I think I wish I would be great. So. I don't know them skull thing. I mean, we are them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's even that too. It's all, one of the things that we as a people have to do is we have to start reclaiming everything.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of information put out with regard to things that we took as, oh, that's negative, we don't want nothing to do with that, but it's actually our stuff. So that we should be, you know what I mean? So like, for example, if we say, for example, well, I don't want nothing to do with skulls or whatever, right? Well, grandma had a skull, and granddad had a skull, and mom, if she's not here anymore, and dad, if they're not here anymore, and everybody who we call our ancestors had a skull. So if we say we don't want nothing to do with skulls, we're saying we don't want anything to do with them. Which is really us storing our own stuff away. Right? Not that, you know what I mean? Not that we should be like the guys who, cut it open, use it and drink the blood out of it or whatever like that. Yeah. That's an aspect of the skull, but that's not skulls generally. You know what I mean? Generally, skulls are ancestors, really and truly. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because everybody had a skull. Yeah. It's not a devilish thing, you know what I mean? It's just like people who say, astrology is the devil, but they celebrate their birthday every day, and it's not the devil on their birthday. Right? Yeah, but they tell you no astrology, you can't do that, and don't read that, and whatever. Jesus didn't bring that and all this stuff. Yes. But every day, every birthday though, they're celebrating the devil stuff. Right? They're telling people to throw away. Right? It was Jamaican Express. So again, because Brother Omar and I were talking about earlier. We were talking about how they're using COVID to get everybody to be black now. They're using it, right? They're using this time to push the agenda of Black Lives Matter and black this and black that and black everything. Yeah. Which is worse than COVID. Yeah. Really and truly. Because when we look out there and see people walking up and down and stuff like that, obviously this stuff's not killing people like that. Like it's not killing people like that. No. We should be seeing people walking and just dropping over. If it's that serious. Right? So what is the other what else is going on? Why is this happening? I mean, it could be, them trying to go in everybody's bank account and steal stuff. It could be them stealing pensions. It could be whatever. But we know that once this thing started, getting to a place where they couldn't really manage it because the weather was getting good outside, they killed some guy to get everybody outside. Now they have a reason to say, okay, well, you didn't go outside with a mask, you didn't get whatever. So now, stage 2 is happening where we're gonna have so many people, and then 900,000 people got affected because they were out marching or whatever like that. But it was all to bring again to the attention this black thing, which when 4 or 5 years ago, when the other guy got killed, Michael Brown and all these people, there was Black Lives Matter back then. But then there was a gap with nothing going on, no Black Lives Matter, you're not hearing nothing. And then all of a sudden, here they come again, pop back up again, as if they're really for the people. When 5 years ago, everybody knew that was founded by a European, who these people call the devil, a white man or whatever. And the funding that people are giving to that is not going to Black Lives Matter, the group, that's going to subgroups under Black Lives Matter that have nothing to do with our people or anything like that, right? So, go ahead, man.
George Simpsons. The Simpsons?
Yeah, oh yeah, I had the...
They have all those, right? Those script, that is script. Yeah, and they just,
The creator of The Simpsons, the Futurama, they even show like quarantine kind of thing.
Yeah, quarantine. What's going on now? Simpson shows already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How's it going on, right?
yeah.
And how people taking it as it's something.
It's the same thing with basketball player.
Yeah, Kobe.
That he said that too.
Yeah.
There's a plane helicopter crash and he died.
Yeah, it's amazing how they have it set up.
Yeah.
Right? That they talked about it before.
Yeah.
And then it happens out here in the street, and then nobody's relating it to this stuff happened before. What?
Yeah.
Why are you even acting like this is not acting or whatever? It has to be something orchestrated.
Yeah.
It can't be something that's a real thing like that. But like we said, if you know when they said first wave, and they were having people in their house and all that stuff, you can't go outside or whatever. No. People were outside when people were locked down.
Yeah,
I was outside when people were locked down. Police outside, bus drivers outside. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody dropping down. Nothing. So there has to be a different agenda going on.
Yeah. And
we know that even prior to the whole COVID and stuff like that, that the atmosphere of this was picking up. People were getting more knowledge. People were getting more aware. People were changing their diet. People, you know what I mean? Like things were picking up for humanity, and they had to shut humanity down, get them back into the dead mind state.
That's one of the
Because
why they are right now scared. That's one of the reasons why they're pushing this anti-black stuff.
Yeah, right. You know.
Well, the Black Lives Matter to always see is a LGBT.
Yeah.
That belongs to them now.
Like it's their stuff.
Yeah, it's their
Right?
stuff.
It's their stuff. Like even when we talk about with Black Lives Matter from before, one of the big things here was them being at the Pride Parade and all that.
Yeah.
They were mad why they go in there and all that type of stuff because that's their shit. And why wouldn't they go there? That's their stuff. You know what I mean? You know, it's already been established that's what their position is. You know, and which again goes back to the importance of what it is that we're doing with the information that we have and presenting that as the alternative, opposed to you know, people have a conditioned way of thinking that they think when they want to think, and when they don't want to think, they won't think, and they think that, you know, them not thinking means that stuff stops. Stuff's still going on while you're playing dumb. You know what I mean? One of the things that they had in the paper was this from June 2020. The foundation of commercial law is based upon certain universal, eternally just, valid moral precepts and truths. Commercial law is based upon certain universal, eternally just, valid moral precepts and truths. Commercial law is a war of truth expressed in the form of an intellectual weapon called an affidavit. Now, this is black guy newspaper. Right? So them presenting this thing about commerce, commercial affidavits and things like that. You can't talk like that without having a nationality. If you're just talking about these things, it's just convo. It's not really gonna have an effect. Somebody can't take this and apply this to themselves that they're gonna talk about. We're just stressing the point that the black people are talking how Moors talk. They're talking how we talk. But they didn't call us to qualify any of this. to see if what they're saying is legit or whatever. They just did their own research or whatever, and they put it out there and they're
Actually, there might be a few that are national that are right on.
yeah. You
notice
that too.
underneath they'll have their national name and in brackets
The corporate name. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that tall man out there is watching your stuff, but
No, it can't be.
all right. All right.
Yeah.
The foundation of the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, is commercial law. The foundation of commercial law is based upon certain universal, eternal, just, valid, moral precepts, truths. The basis of commercial law is in the law of Exodus, of the Old Testament, and Judaic Orthodox Hebrew commercial law. The laws of commerce have remained unchanged for at least 6,000 years and form the basis of Western civilization, if not all nations. The law of commerce, therefore, applies universally throughout the world. Real commercial law is non-judicial and is prior and superior to the basis of and cannot be set aside or overruled by statutes of any government, legislature, governmental, or quasi-governmental agencies, courts, judges, and law enforcement agencies. Islam, what's good?
Islam.
That's gonna be awesome.
Like out.
Oh snap! Golden Amber Alert for child abduction.
How you doing? You know what, that was really the alarm for that was really your alarm, eh? Not Amber Alert, Moroccan Alert. Moore's in the house.
It's love.
But you may as well, what do you mean? You came in here, you may as well introduce
I know that alarm's going off. It's not. I don't do it now.
Sorry, you here?
Akim
Buddy?
Yeah.
Akim Buddy, Islam. Peace and love, bro. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Commercial law is a war of truth expressed in the form of an intellectual weapon called an affidavit. An affidavit is merely a written list of facts or truths signed under penalty of perjury and usually notarized. The person comprising
Another Amber Alert? Oh, I think there is because all these highwaymen are pulling everybody over on the highway. And I was like, what the hell's going on today? We see so many.
What are they?
3 in a row, 4 in a row.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? So that's an
Apparently
Amber
they're
Alert.
looking for somebody.
Islam.
Looking for somebody.
I mean, I assume.
Yeah, we sing each other.
Oh, it's all right. But royalties in the house now.
We're all brothers, brother.
But, well, some royalty we don't see all the time.
So I can't put this one here, the right line of royalty.
All right,
I mean, well, he'll tell us.
The person composing and signing an affidavit is called the affiant. It is survival of the fittest, where the last rebutted stands triumphant. In the laws of commerce, the eternal and unchanging principle of laws are, and then they list the 10 maxims that don't come from a universal concept or whatever. That comes from some Europeans who put out their little information to try to not be under the jurisdiction of the state, whatever, right? And again, them making the connection to the Uniform Commercial Code being tied to Old Testament and Judaic Orthodox Hebrew commercial law or whatever, discounts the fact that the idea of commercial law really comes from us. and our foremothers and forefathers who were the masters of commerce. Because the only way that you're going to be engaged in commerce is if you have boats. So you have to have boats in order to be engaged in commerce. You have to be tied to that history of navigation to even be talking about commerce and things like that. Now, the other part of it is that commerce is really trade. And Noble Drew Ali taught us that the commerce belongs to the citizens. It doesn't belong to anybody else like that. So as soon as the citizens start presenting it as, in order to be a commercial, whatever, a secured party creditor, come to us and we got this paper, 500, and then once you get this paper, you're gonna be, all that is taken away from what it's really about, right? If the plaintiff does not prove his case, the defendant is absolved. A rebuttal affidavit of truth supported by evidence point by point. Because truth is sovereign in commerce and everyone is responsible for propagating the truth in all speaking, writing, and acting, all commercial processes function via affidavit certified and sworn on each affiant's commercial liability as true, correct, and complete, attesting under oath read the validity, relevance, and veracity of all matters stated, and likewise demanded. So if we have John Smith, and John Smith is saying, I'm filing an affidavit. And affidavit is based on true, correct, and complete. If John Smith is a black man, affidavit is void. Because anybody who looks like us that has a European name, that means they're a slave. That's just what it is. Right? Anybody who classifies themselves as adjective man. So we say red, purple. And then for people online or whatever, there's some new people here. Well, that's why we're going over this. Right? Now, if you said red man, you might lean toward Indians or whatever like that, because you've seen the movies or whatever like that, say the red man. But if I tell you purple man, orange man, you're gonna look at me crazy. If I said my friend the purple man over or whatever sells the patties across the street, let's go to my purple man friend, you're gonna wonder what I'm talking about. Yeah. Because it doesn't equate to humanity like that. Same thing as us saying black. It doesn't add up to being a human, right? So like even when we talk to the brother, that he's not gonna say he's black, even though people from where he is look like his shirt. They're not gonna say we're black. They're gonna say we're Nigerian, Congolese, we're Eritrean, we're from some type of nation. They're not gonna identify with a color. So for these people who are colorable people, for these people who are calling themselves black, whatever, all these different things, to try to impress upon our people like they know the law or whatever like that, because they got an article talking about commerce and all that stuff, so we're playing games with people. This is just to make it look like they're talking about something, but really they're not talking about anything. No. Right? Because it's a fiction to apply laws to them like that, right? It's a fiction to do that. You can't, it doesn't, the law is not going to work for them. As much as they might know it, the first thing is, who are you? If you say, oh, I'm John Smith, oh, we already know you're a slave. We're gonna play a little game with you. We'll take your paper. We'll go to court, play a game. You know, to make you think that we're going somewhere with this, but they're not planning on going anywhere with it.
Just by the name.
Just by that only. Just by that. That's why that's the first thing they always go for. Hey, who are you? Oh, I'm whatever. You got ID to prove that? Yeah, I got ID or whatever. So they go in their pocket, they pull out some ID. Where that ID come from? Probably Canada, United States, whatever like that. Oh, you're not really who you are. You don't even know who you are because the same people who colonize you, you have their ID now. And you're using that as the real identification. Right? He's broken.
Also, it did not make it difficult for you to come back on your own. So you have to have like a kind of baptism and
Right. But when they say
how do you understand? Like, so when you put your name like the resume, the one.
now let me ask you this question.
So they want you to. I don't want to interrupt, but
Right.
we just talked about this, and he was telling me how they went and told him as a Catholic to change your name, right? It's funny how this just came up.
Yeah.
Because it's that's why I was like, one of those people like,
Yeah.
because I went to a Catholic school, right? So we do baptismal
Combination.
thank you, like go to my right?
Right.
So when you do a baptism, they'll say they give you the name of the saint.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, John, Frank, Michael.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. Name, the saint.
The
Saint, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never even see the person.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So he gave me one thing like this. They gave me a card like a new pink, like new something.
Yeah.
Over my
Right.
keyboard,
Yeah.
my family
Right.
name, you know. It's crazy. Why do you accept it? Because I never allowed nobody to do
And
that.
that's why it
I
can
didn't
go on.
put my-
And that's why it can go on, because everybody accepts it.
I didn't even put it in my name. Nobody put it in my dad. I was like, I use my parents and my name for everything. My parents, everything.
It's all about the corporate Christian name.
I don't, yeah, corporate Christian. I don't have anything. I don't even have that announcement.
Yes.
Or you don't, okay, since you
I
came
don't use it.
back.
I never used it even when I was back home. My dad didn't allow us to use it. I came from a traditional home, right?
Yeah.
But our parents had like a religion too. You know?
Right.
But they still practice.
They still
tradition.
practice the tradition. Yeah. They didn't fully convert to Catholicism.
You know, so my dad is a Christian, my mom is a Muslim. So my mom's family are Muslims. So my dad is a Catholic.
And that's just where you sit back home. Nigeria.
So my dad's mom is a Muslim too, but his dad is not a Catholic. His name was not James. You know, so remember that his dad, right? His dad passed away when he was 9. So he was like, my son gotta go to Catholic school. So he traveled to Canada back because he met my mom in Nigeria, right? My dad's brother died when my mom was pregnant.
Right.
So they named me after my dad's brother died. Basically. So when he came back, we already practiced. I was involved with my mom, so I practiced Muslim too.
Right.
So I now had knowledge of
Both. Yeah.
So I keep on wondering, like, if you say you're calling this God, this one is. Even when I was young, I would be wondering, like, what's happening in this place?
Yeah.
Sometimes I sit down, I'll sit down and say some shit, and I'm like, what are you saying, man? It just doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
you beat the shit out of people.
Yeah.
When I was young, you can't say shit, but when I was Sunday schools and all those things,
Yeah. You just gotta go with it.
if you say, oh, but why did Jesus, how come 2 breasts on, why did you,
Yeah, question, right?
Yeah.
the next man, you don't even have something, you
Yeah.
can't even say that shit, bro.
Right.
The big, bro, I don't want to.
There's indoctrination because they.
I'm talking about even what's in Christian classes and Muslim classes, they both wicked.
Yeah. Both of them are corrupt. Yeah.
If you start to bring up your own opinion, because I'm a kind of person like I like to speak like you can't tell me what I want to do. You gotta let me know unless you know what happened.
Right.
You know, even when I was wrong, but they be like, oh,
So what it's called? This is what it's called. What they did.
Yeah.
Denationalization.
Yeah.
Right? This is what it's called. Because you know about this in Nigeria, Igbo,
Yeah, Igbo language.
and they wear these, right?
Yeah,
The chief and Igbo wear these.
chief, yeah.
So what do you think about us wearing these? What does it mean?
I already know.
That's, yeah,
That's how we met.
that's what it is. Bringing you back to this. That's what this is about.
I know.
But all across the world, though, not just here only. Where in the UK, same thing. You got people who look like us, that they call them black, African, whatever like that. You're not that, you're Moors. You go South America, same thing. Black, Australia, no matter where. This is what has happened to our people. They were denationalized. They got taken from their national position and then put into a corporate position. And then once you go into the corporate position, now they own you. And they can tell you do whatever, and you're gonna do it. Because right, and then
if I want to get my information back and tell you can't get you, you sign policy.
Right.
Already, because I saw information on my phone.
right,
No one, I know all those papers, you know.
yeah.
You see,
It was contracts. Yeah, it was contracts.
to hold you down, you want to get back home, where you get a house, it's more.
Yeah.
It's more, like that. He has a house, it's great.
Yeah,
You don't pay for your life.
You don't need, yeah, right, exactly. The land is there. You just go build, you make your border, and then that's it. Right,
Yeah, come here.
right. You ever heard of Berlin Conference? The Berlin Conference. Right, you can look that up too. Berlin Conference. And the Berlin Conference is how they got the continent of Africa and then split it up into all the different, right? That's what happened at the Berlin Conference, right? So what they do first, they denationalize the people, call them something that they're not, which gets them off the land. And then they have some conference to claim the land. Everybody's going on.
I never get to
Say you don't have the smartphone life, huh? No Android.
Phone kind of smarter than me.
Right? No.
It would be hard.
Also, too, when we look at the practice, the tradition of denationalization, the tradition of denationalization comes out of the Inquisition. And the Inquisition was when we were ruling the world, and the Christians didn't like that we were ruling the world, so they tried to get us out of rulership. And again, they did it the same way. First thing, get the people to not be who they are. Once you get the people to not be who they are, like, instead of being, whatever, look Islamic, they make you Christian.
Yeah.
This is what this was about, the Inquisition. Right? This is what Inquisition was about, making us be a different religion that's not ours, so that they can have control over us. Because we saying Jesus the Christ is the Savior or whatever, which means we agree with them.
I believe in that too.
Right.
And they put it inside our certain ancestors that made it like where they feel like, nah, it's there to them, like it's theirs. It wasn't given to them like
When I
theirs.
was younger, they'll say this. When I say God forbid, don't gosh, like they said, I said that to him too.
Yeah.
Don't gosh, God. I said, well, where Ethiopia, where does this religion come from? Where did these religions come from? Catholic, Christianity, all come from us.
The Gnostics,
Yeah.
Coptics,
Coptic.
that's the original church.
Well, yeah, that's the foundation of Catholicism and Christianity.
Another thing you should look up is Nicene Council,
Another one.
which will break down what happened in Christianity. Council of Nicaea.
That's right here.
Are you ready?
Yeah. 19 councils.
But I like that one when you start talking about purple people, and so-called black people, whatever. Well, if somebody said the green people, automatically, whatever you say green, I see some green people, what are they gonna think they are, right?
Right. Yeah.
But they can get that, but when you say black people, it's just like, oh, yeah. Black Lives Matter.
Please, bro. Question?
I know I'm just the first comer here.
What's all right?
So I just want to let you know that I grew up in a Christian home, okay? And I believe in Christ, you understand me? And I believe in the Creator. And a lot of people say, oh, people are mocking me and criticizing me about my religion, my background, my culture, and everything. But I stand for the Creator. You understand me? And I believe in the Creator. And you see, for me, please, not get angry at me. Okay, but I don't like when people mention about how what background or what religion is, and understand me. I like people all. You understand me? I like people all. I like the background, the religion, the culture. I want to know about your culture.
That's the true. What you're talking about is the true way of Christ.
Yeah.
The way you are.
Yeah.
That's not a Christian. Christian indoctrination and the Christian different.
Christ is
All
different.
these religions are my religion is it, and whatever you do, that's not what it is. It's what my religion and my doctrine that I have, that's all that matters.
That's what I'm saying.
But that's Christianity.
Yeah.
That's modern day Islam.
Yeah.
That's Judaism.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But that's not what you practice. So you're being like Christ. You're like Christ-like.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with Christianity.
Yeah.
Christianity is a totally different practice.
Yeah.
Right? Because the modern day or average Christian is not going to approach Christian or what your ideology or what you think Christianity is. They're not going to approach it like that. You're approaching from the Christ-like mind.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who wants to walk in Christ's shoes and not just follow him.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be a leader. Yeah, that's the way you're approaching it. But conventionally, Christianity is not the way you're projecting it, right? The whole idea of Christianity is not like that. But the problem is, like, we don't talk bad about other religions and practices. We're just talking about everything in general.
Right.
But I didn't get that from you. But the idea is that Christianity is what it is, and everything else comes after. So if you're practicing something else, it's not the true practice or the true spirituality or true religion, right? But now if another practice comes and tries to denounce Christianity, then there's a problem. But what Christianity is saying that it's the it and all, it's not a question. Because everybody thinks that, oh, it's Christianity and everything else things came after. But you have to do your research. And then you realize that, like we were just talking about, a lot of these things came out of things from our people, which are way more ancient. When we talk about the Gnostics, Coptic religion, you gotta go back to those doctrines and see what they say.
I don't, like, me, I don't want to argue my brother, but you're right.
I'm not arguing.
Yeah, sorry.
That's not arguing.
But what I'm saying is that you're right. You're right. But you see, my dad, he's an ordained minister. You know my dad, right? Okay, he has a furniture across the street, right there, and he has a church. And tomorrow, he was talking about the same thing what you guys talking about, and he's a pastor, right? And he thinks that like false gods, false religion,
Right,
false document and
Yeah,
everything.
right.
All
So
totally.
that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
That they want you to think that that's Christianity,
Mhm.
right? But Christianity is really being like Christ. Christianity isn't going to a building and then you take the stuff in your mouth and you drink the blood of Jesus and then you get the baptism and they put the water on your head. That's not Christianity. Christianity is seeing Christ, reading what Christ did, and then emulating Christ's life. That's really what Christianity is. So when you go on Lake Ontario, you start walking on water, they're gonna tell you that you're a devil.
Christ is the only one supposed to do those type of things, right?
Yeah.
Right.
If I say something in a place that I think is making sense, all of them look at me crazy.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to piece things together and make it add up and make sense.
Yes, thank you.
You just have to follow what they told you
Then I
to
feel like I'm not, I don't belong to this.
But then it goes back to the same thing that it's just like if we're familiar with Malcolm X, right? You know Malcolm X got killed by people who look like him, right? How was he able to get killed? Because he kept talking about honors to Elijah Muhammad, honors to Elijah Muhammad, honors to Elijah Muhammad, thank you, Elijah Muhammad, after he left, which puts him in that stuff. If you're gonna honor the man who you left their stuff, then obviously you're still part of that. So we have jurisdiction to do things. If we're saying that building over there is why I'm Christian, as soon as you go in there, whatever they say, that's what goes. You can't have your own mind in there. And as soon as you have your own mind in there, they're trying to get you out of there. Because if you have your own mind in there, then that might inspire other people to have their own mind in there. And if everybody in there has their own mind, they don't need that building anymore.
Yeah.
Building becomes useless.
And that's the kind of the concept with somewhat back to Africa stuff too, like where we don't claim here. Or the planet as our home. We're just like they say go back to Africa, so we think, okay, we gotta go back to Africa. When we know the planet's our home, but they're saying it, they have documents and certain things to add this to make it make sense, to validate the story. Say, okay, well, yeah, these people actually came from on spaceship. So now all of us feel like, or most of the conscious community, or who has some type of awareness, feel like at some point that has to be the moment because this is their home. When we know that that's not nothing close to the case, but we still accept it. And now, because they put that spell on us, telling me, okay, well, this is our home. When, like, say if it wasn't, say we were from Africa on that level, the European or the Albion is still not their home. This would be the quote unquote Native Americans home over there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Who they call natives. So how are they still trying to claim it as home and tell us, go back, you guys are not from here, go back, it's our home. You know what I mean? Like, and that spell goes on and we just run with it and accept it no matter what.
If you can't claim those things,
So much things are in front of our face that say something different.
Yeah, so the question I wanted to ask is that the Islam is practiced back. Is it the same?
All right, so the same way that with Christianity is being Christ, Islam, we have it on the thing right here. Just take a picture of this before you leave, right? But Islam is I, self, law, and master. ISLAM, I, self, law, and master, which is man and Allah being one. So Allah's not out there somewhere, Allah's within.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, right.
I know that's
So
that's why I have in mind.
right. Yeah.
And that Islam he's talking about encompasses Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Sunnism, everything. No, but not when I say Islam, that's
like Sunni Shia. Yeah.
No, Sufi is our Islam. That's not Islam that is within the Islam.
Can I build on what you just said? And what he just said with all these different so-called degrees of knowledge, really are degrees of knowledge. What they call.
Not religions.
Yes.
And it was placed there for a set of people who needed that. Who need like in the Bible, in certain parts of the Bible, the verse of the Bible, you know what the Bible is?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So remember when the people they didn't want to worship the Most High, like they had the Most High to worship. According to the story, right? They just had the Most High to worship. So instead, they didn't want to satisfy the Most High. And the same thing with Christ and Islam. They didn't want to like being. That's why the 5 times the day praying came with them as well, because you guys, you don't want to do it yourself, or you're not able to. Okay, well, you need something. Okay, you want Muhammad. Okay, well, you want to pray 3 times, or you want to pray 5 instead, because you can't do it on your own. You need somebody to give you everything. Okay, pray 5 times instead. Oh, you guys don't want to Christianity. You guys don't want to be led by the Lord and the Almighty. Okay, I'm going to give you Saul. Saul the first king. No, am I right or wrong?
Yeah, you're right.
Right?
Right.
And why did the Almighty God, the Lord, give them Saul?
Because to worship him, to bow.
Yeah, because they didn't just want to deal with the Most High energy and manifest that to themselves. They want somebody, they need a
Middleman.
Yeah, they need a middleman, an intervener, someone to make them connect to that one image.
Omar, you had
A couple points. One, well, just to speak on that point, I don't think we needed that. What I think happened was that people.
But that was the closing part of my point. Like that, all these religions were back to certain people, and we gave it to people because we knew that they needed that.
I sort of feel it from a different perspective. That certain people took this and decided to put themselves on top of this rather than giving us the stuff to free us. So some of us got this knowledge, and rather than saying, "Here, take it and go and free yourselves," oh, well, pray to this, give us little donations, and we're the guy that'll make sure your stuff's okay. But going back to the slavery thing, what I was looking at, I was talking to my mom about this. I said, so if we're slaves, then we've got a connection somewhere, right? Then we should be Ghanaian, Nigerian, whatever, if that's who we are. Then really, those people and those governments back there should be coming to claim us.
Right.
We should have some reparation, we should have some recourse, because we got to be tied to someone. Everyone's tied to someone somewhere, even if you're saying we're a slave. So if we're from Ghana, and this is what I said, then really we should be starting a lawsuit against the Ghanaian government. We're not coming to come and help us, help and claim us. The Nigerian government. And you notice if you talk to a Nigerian, you ask him who he is, he's not saying he's African, he's saying he's Nigerian. He might have come from the continent of Africa, but he's a Nigerian. So you pay homage to where you come from. With us, this is where I see our issue is that because we have thrown a spell on ourselves to make ourselves black, which means we are homeless and stateless, we don't have anyone. And I was saying this to my mom today about the fact that the reason why we're in the state we're in is that we don't have a head. I was thinking about this just now, we're a headless body. So anytime anything goes on, you have some group that comes up to kind of put the horse back into his spot, so then we go about being headless again, because we've got no leadership. I asked her this. I said, who was the last leader of the black people? Name me. I asked you guys this. Who was the last black leader? Kind of crazy. Everyone's silent. Isn't that crazy?
Who's the black leader?
Who?
I'll start things there.
Oh, come on.
He's a black leader.
He's a black leader.
He's a black leader. What are you talking about?
Is he not a police?
He's a black leader. He's one of the black leaders. What are you saying?
I wouldn't consider him a black leader.
He is. I'll show you.
I wouldn't consider him a black leader. So what my mom said is Marcus Garvey. But then I thought to myself, so then I said to myself, Marcus Garvey, so how long ago was that? Right? So, and
but then he wasn't a black leader, he was a Negro leader.
well,
Actually, Marcus is a black leader. I don't know what you're
what I'm equating is the fact that we don't have any infrastructure to represent anything. And if Al Sharpton were a black leader, then he'd be out there all the time. Al Sharpton only pops out when there's some issue.
Yeah, that's what black leaders do.
No, but I'm saying
you're mixing it up. I'm talking about somebody for the people. That wouldn't be a black leader. That would be a Moorish leader.
I think what he's trying to say is that there's no point somebody aligning everybody and we follow
Right.
it as
So
one.
we have no
You know what I'm
infrastructure.
saying? Like,
Right, but that's what
That's the whole
Black-
point.
black
Farrakhan is Farrakhan's a black man.
That
Not that.
can happen because I'm in Nigeria. That's people are black.
What you're trying to say.
You know what I'm saying?
Black
Very
race.
simple.
I don't know what criteria you guys are trying to put.
You know, I'm in Nigeria now. Somebody from Ghana sent me Ghanaian.
Well, but,
And they, you know, they are lying. They are saying, they are lying.
Right.
He's there too.
Yeah, also, I'm black.
Otherwise,
You are lying.
Hold on, hold on. One comment.
Sorry.
What's all good? Say that last part again.
Oh, I said, like, I'm in Nigeria now. We are lying. This from Congo. We are lying. Everybody are lying. This Congolese.
Right.
But when you come here, I'm black.
Yeah.
I'm black. Oh, when you came to this, yeah, I'm black.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
When I came here, I saw a Jamaican, right? It was exactly like what he said.
Yeah.
I ran to the brother like, yo, bro.
Bro, my Nigerian brother. No, not Nigerian. I'm black.
What does that tell you?
Do your
What
mind.
does that tell you?
The first time I went to school, right, I was new my accent and everything, bro. Like, bro, because I was trying to, I like to work, I was trying
Yeah.
to job, like, you know. Yeah. So, I'm on the train, bro, you're fucking African. Yeah, in Africa, Africa is jungle, bro. Yo, you don't know like that, right? The life you living and live it back home, bro.
Yeah.
I was driving when I was 19. I was like, yo.
Yeah.
It looked, because I said I'm from Africa.
Yeah.
These guys debunk like everything, like it's not even more enlightened than me. I can swear anything.
And that's the battle. That's the battle that we have with
And
our
he looks
people here.
exactly like my friend. He's looking like me, bro. This same complexion.
Yeah.
He is you, and he didn't know he
That's
is.
all he is. That's it.
Because he's black.
It happened to me in Germany. I was at an airport and one of the people dealing at the desk was a goddess, and I just threw out on that side. Maybe I just was naive, and I'm just thinking, okay, she's probably from Africa. Like you're in Germany right now working, but right? But it's the same thing. I go, oh, which part are you Nigerian or Ghanaian? No, I'm Jamaican. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know, but same people. Like, what are you mad about? See, like those, like you know, same people. No. So like, okay,
Well,
So exactly like everybody is like blacklisted, like we don't even you see even light skinned person with them around she's that. But because when I came I went to see sometimes getting places some scenarios happen. When I'm going, I just add the pieces and I'm like, yo, damn, this is what they're gone. So there's a girl from South Sudan, she's very, very dark. She's dark skin. Yes, Sudan, she's dark skin. I noticed that girls they don't talk to her. Even like our color too. That's just to show you that the blacklisted her.
Yeah.
Do you understand? The black listed her.
Yeah.
You could go in the blacklist with them if you
And,
want.
and that's what they do with people who don't identify with a nation. Right?
Yeah.
The people who
Civilized world.
the civilized world has a nationality. And if they're not civilized, they don't have a nationality.
So
you have to understand, since they're coming over here to stay they're trying to put it.
that's why they created immigration and made poverty back.
How are they gonna you put immigrant over here when they're not even over
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
here?
Like they created poverty, they made our politicians greedy. Because my dad wanted to go into politics, right? So I knew what was happening before. I told him too that if I go first, there's not like this when he wanted to go, I could have advised him that he should play along with the game and change his mind along the way. But he refused everything. Well, yeah, he didn't want to be a conversion.
Yeah, and then he didn't get anywhere, right?
Yo, bro, we were rich, bro. Like we started, like going back to poor. It was like before, like we were like getting money. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
But he didn't affect it still. But I knew, but I was like, you play with the game. You get some few players you could change their mind too.
Right.
That's the way they did it. Teach them.
Yeah.
That is the way they did it.
Yeah.
Like, so when I was growing up, but I knew how to play soccer. That was my talent, right? So my dad, was a pharmacologist. He came to school here. So I got a scholarship when I was 14 to travel to play soccer in the US, right? He didn't allow me to go. He wanted me to do medicine, to do doctor.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my thing.
That wasn't the passion. Yeah.
Bro, I knew since I was young that was my thing. When I was checking my yearbook, when I was just minding, like, who told me to write this? I knew in my right senses I would write down it.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
You see the way within the profession, like,
yeah.
Even people practicing like normal our religion back home, they look at them as outcasts.
Yeah. But that's conditioning.
That's what I'm saying. Condition the program.
Yeah, they're programmed to think like that. Yeah.
Even in the movies too.
Yeah.
Like the people that signed the government, people in movie, television, thinking that they use those people to rot anywhere they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, we can't blame a lot of people. We gotta blame ourselves too. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly even if we don't know, and then we do know, we gotta do something about it. That's why we're here. That's everybody here. So many people trying to do something about.
Yeah.
Movies hypnotize so many people.
Oh yeah, that's everywhere. Everywhere.
I used to be like those people. You used to see those guys act like that. I used to be like, think like that. Then when I was in college, something just hit me.
Bro, something
Like something wrong.
Yeah.
I've been young, like, since I've been young, anytime I'm in a class, they say something I'm trying to talk, they shut me up. In school, they pay me out.
Right.
Like, then it goes away, when somebody's kicking you, when they dumb me down. Yeah. So when I came to Canada, I became my own person. My dad was back home.
Yeah.
Nobody could look up to me.
Right.
I was still my uncle.
Yeah.
Don't know that when I got my own place. Yeah.
Well, you just said you were your own man. That's Islam. I saw master.
I started working. Because I never worked before when I was back home. I started working when my younger brother came. I started realizing things. I meet people. Then my black person in China, they helped me. Then it was not another person. Other races were not helping me.
Oh, you mean like the LBR?
No, not even the help me out. I most honestly, I don't like the help. Like, we never prospered.
Yeah.
I don't know why we never prospered. Even with girls, we never prospered.
Right.
But other than the other shades, like, they call themselves, they lost. They don't know where they come from.
Right.
So, but they tend to help me more than my people. You know what I mean? Even here too, that which is crazy.
Yeah. You had some more?
No, just saying, I want to follow up with you soon and the whole leader thing. I guess more of the point that I was making is leaders that seem to be active and doing works all the time. So these, I mean, you can go back to Farrakhan possibly. I wasn't consciously around in that period of time to understand it, but none of these guys like Sharpton or Jackson are there speaking for us and doing the works. When you break it down, you realize, yes, they may be construed as leading, but that's almost a facade as well. They've just been given the platform because we know the Hotel Pro stuff. But where is someone that you can say day in, day out is speaking for us, looking for our betterment? They're not there. We don't have them. So that was sort of where I was going with that. But I think that speaks to the fact of what Black represents. It's death. It has no connection to anything. So you're never going to have the very essence of that is going to be devoid of a leader.
Closest thing you're finding out is a celebrity, athlete, or
Well,
something.
that's what I'm saying. They're saying unless it's some guy speaking for you, that should show you the nature of these things. Everyone else has a president. You know, when you talk about, I was talking to my mom, you talk about Toronto, you got Ford. You talk about Ontario, you got Tory for Toronto. You got Ford for Ontario, and you got this Trudeau guy. Everyone has someone that you can point to and say, this guy represents this nation, even though we know it's not a nation, right? So, but I was just, that was one of the things that I was realizing.
Right now, you got a Moorish leader, and he's right there.
Yeah, we're talking right now.
And I think,
And every day,
he's
even not at the temple,
That's
but
10
you're
years.
cracking me up, bro.
you be hitting him with what's happens and still back from Nigeria, because I still went to Nigeria in February. Right? We don't have database.
We don't have technology. We don't have data. That is why they can loot money, all those things. Of which things can still, I'm trying to say things can change. But there are villages that they don't even know how to speak English. And they don't even say cell phone.
Yeah.
They call to the nature, bro.
Yeah. And their stuff is running better than the stuff that's up here with the phone, with the computer, with the
Because that's what I'm saying. If because the government is their solar, they never for the people, they against the people only.
But now that's part of the thing too. That once we realize that the government sold out, they're no longer the government.
Yeah.
But if we keep calling them the government, then they're gonna keep selling out because we're not identifying them like we're supposed to identify them. You know, we're taking the position of not recognizing them.
Because government controls the media. Their media.
Yeah.
Because they're in power right now.
Yeah.
Real power. But it's kind of hard, like you said, because they're all around, so it's like, even with us. We're sovereign, or, you know, somebody passed by here looking there and said, man, they got 500 people in there. Great, and then we got a problem. So we got to go through all that stuff, right? So they're still in our business. Because.
So just like you said, right? So.
That's what I'm saying. We can go back home and start to go. Put that up and that's
we're not even worrying about it.
no, I'm saying people back home. I'm not talking about people that are
Yeah. People who are there. Yeah.
that you go that I highly recommend.
Well, guess what? That's why you're here now to get this information. You'll take it back home to speed up the process. These are like
I had a structure because I was I used to think I was like drawing plans about the world can be better. Yeah, as my point of view. I don't know why I used to do that.
look at it like this.
I've been drawing like do this that make these people do this, maybe this side of the nation.
I know it's not happening. You see these fences that these guys are wearing? We're outside in the general population. It's like a light. So now when you get this information, you're in the light and the knowledge. You go back home, so you go back to the population, back and travel around the world, sharing the knowledge and lighting somebody else over this knowledge. So we can speed up the process. You get what I'm saying? So this is what happened. So when we get the light, that's when we pass the torch and share it out. That's people who want it.
No, that's cool. They're if they don't want it,
Keep on moving.
you can't do nothing if they don't want it.
Say that if you pick out of 100, you can say one that's still one.
We don't have to save 50 million. All we need to do is save 5. That's it. We save 5 and we did something. Because once we get to, just like what the brother's saying, that once we get to a certain level where we realize that, you know, preachers been lying, imams been lying, rabbis been lying, but then we're still giving honors. Oh yeah, Judaism, blah, blah, blah.
Well, they know the preachers are lying. They know they're lying, but they still giving honors to the preacher. It was true. That's why Jesus.
That's what the issue
That
is.
is the main.
That's the issue.
That is the core. They know. Bro, you think they don't know they lie?
Of course.
No, of course they know. No, but
Everything.
yeah, but the thing is that we're expecting the leaders to change
Yeah, we're looking.
when we know that they sold out already.
Exactly.
Their job is to sell out. That's their job.
That's
their job. They're never gonna change.
Yeah.
They're never gonna change. That's what they're gonna do, right?
Everybody said, "Hey, go." Islam means I self-run. There's no leaders. There's no big idea.
You're the leader.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Every individual being their own imam. We don't need to go to and then the imam there is gonna tell me.
That's like questions that I've been asking when I was 7. Like, why do I need to go to fucking church every Sunday to go pray to?
When they
To
get to
what?
say
Wake up.
You're too pretty to feel better with it.
You gotta pray before you.
So imagine that,
They
right?
say close your eyes. I don't open my eyes because I'm very stubborn. Bro. I've been. I don't know. I've been.
What's your sign? Astrological sign. What's your sign?
Cancer.
So imagine
I'm
that.
ready. I go against. If you tell me this, I'm going. That is what I'm going against, bro.
You know how hard the colonists like did that to our ancestors because you came after, so you had less of the ritualistic and the traditional culture than your parents did. You had less of it.
Yeah.
Because they adopted something else and gave you less of it, or you learned less of it, but you still had more of it than them. With them, like getting it from their grandparents and their great, who that tradition was more prevalent with. And they still forget about it, and you're trying to bring it back, and they can't bring it back. So that's how deep these people took away what they initially had. That's how hard they work. That they're looking at, no, Christianity. No, voodoo, get out of here with that. Like rituals, whatever. No, this is Christianity. Christianity.
Talking to what he's talking about, right? This is from Lord Macaulay of the British Parliament, 1835. I traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief, such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber that I do not think we could ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture, for if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation.
That's it's like, so I just keep thinking about it.
That's it.
Like, to make them love that. Yeah, to make our people love the other thing more than what they loved before. You know what they have to do to change that psyche?
Bro, that thing, it just wants more brother's mind. I'm telling you, bro.
Yeah, that's all they gotta do really is influence the influencer.
Just the brother's mind.
They just have to influence the influencer.
Something.
Once I get your
It's something that you have never seen before. I don't know what it was or how it was done. The poison that brother's mind.
Please.
It's not.
They got there's one over here. There's one over here. Right, so the thing that you recognize ever since you were a child or whatever, right? There's others who were on that same mind frame. Well, damn, something's wrong here, or you know what I mean? How do we change this or whatever? But if there's more people putting out the wrong information than the right information, the masses are probably going to go with the wrong information instead of going with the right information. This is why, for example, with here, we don't have, line up outside for people to come in here, right? Because the mindset of the people is very limited. So this is what Brother Tallahassee was saying, that once we recognize that we have the light, then we have an obligation to make sure that we spread the light to anybody who doesn't have it. If they get it, great. If they don't get it, no big deal. Don't say that I never told you.
That's what I'm telling you.
Right? Because you're not gonna change somebody's mindset like that.
I'm going to kick you out.
Yeah. Right. The next stop, going back to the thing with all the different religions and why they're confusing and where we're supposed to be at, right? This is the Kabbalion, chapter 1, Hermetic philosophy. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. From old Egypt have come the fundamental esoteric and occult teachings which have so strongly influenced the philosophies of all races, nations, and peoples for several thousand years. Egypt, the home of the pyramids and the Sphinx, was the birthplace of the hidden wisdom and mystic teachings. From her secret doctrine, all nations have borrowed. India, Persia, Chaldea, Media, China, Japan, Assyria, ancient Greece and Rome, and other ancient countries partook liberally at the feast of knowledge which the Hierophants and masters of the land of Isis so freely provided for those who came prepared to partake in the great store of mystic and occult lore, which the masterminds of that ancient land had gathered together. So our people were the ones with all the knowledge. Anybody who wanted to learn came to us, no matter where they were in the world. They took what they got from us, went back wherever they came from, and then they gave it out to the people. Some of them said, we're going to sell it to the people. Some of them said, we're going to make some fake religion and then have everybody come to this thinking that, you know, this is where everything comes from, when the people who are teaching it like that don't present it like that. Like, oh, well, you know, so if the Christian said, and again, you have some of them that do that, right? If the rabbi, the imam or whatever said to the people who were in the congregation, you know, all this stuff didn't really come from me, didn't really come from the imams before me. This came from ancient times. And all we have is this much of it. If you want, you can go get the rest, go out and go seek and you shall find and all that type of stuff. People to go out, seek, find, and realize that, oh, I don't need to be Muslim like that, because that's not the all in the all. I don't need to be Christian like that, because that doesn't encompass everything, right? But this is where we have to be at, where we see everything as a holistic perspective and try to get those to see it that way. But if they don't, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? They're gonna get their ass kicked enough. Eventually, they're gonna wake up all this ass kicking there again.
Yeah, you're not right. They're doing this happening right
And they're doing it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, right now,
They've already made it like, and it's not did it.
Say that again?
It's not did it.
Yeah.
Which is always really easy. It's very hard for human to call up for hypnotic reading. So people are out for because of what flood. It's only when disasters happen that just flood. That's when some people who wake some people was waking up to the black.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, which is the problem.
that's
Which is the
the
problem. But that's why they did what they did. Because they already know, for example, they already know.
The Asiatics are waking up and they got to put them back to sleep. Put this black over.
We were talking about, they're not putting them back to sleep. This is a recruiting. This is a recruiting drive.
Yes.
We're recruiting the black guys who really are waking up to the fact that they're not black. So what we got to do now that everyone's sort of anxious is we got to have a ritual.
Right.
Even though hundreds of thousands of people are supposedly dying,
Yeah.
some other shit.
Yeah.
Some guy gets choked out,
Yeah.
and now everyone around the world is running around wanting to claim to be black because they had nothing to begin with.
Right.
Groups everywhere,
Right.
people. It's
Right.
the first thing.
Sit back and enjoy the ride, because someone's going down.
Yeah. And what we're realizing is that, like when you say, for example, with the George Floyd and all that stuff, right? What we know is that's the effect. The thing that we see happen, that's the effect. Right? So that means that there was something already before that to make that happen.
Yeah, just
That's not just happening because, a guy was standing on the street and then highwayman came and then asked him a question. He didn't want to, and then they arrest him and then he ended up dead. And people think that's the final out. No, that's the effect.
It's a movie, tell a live vision, right?
Can I say something real
Good
quick?
one.
This is how I met him. Before all this went down. Then I said, what's going on in the basement? The rent parties? Because they just shut the sliding doors and everything changed. And I said, all of a sudden, you can't go to these banks with no security guards are there. doors are closed, you gotta take your time going in, I'm saying,
Yeah.
something changed,
Yeah.
I said, something's changing around here. Then after that change, your boy got blew up in the airport, in the helicopter.
Mhm.
And after the helicopter thing, the boy gets choked out. Now all this, oh no, that the so-called virus came.
Yeah, yeah,
I forgot about
yeah.
that.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
It's so real.
All these things are played out like when I really noticed it, like, what's going on with these banks now? Jeez, I never seen this. I see, okay, we're in the martial law state or something, you got guards up there with shotguns, but all of a sudden they start shutting down the banks of security guards and stuff. And I said to him, because I passed by him and said, tell me the inside scoop, what's really going on, right? Because I know something's going down.
But you work in the road? Okay.
It depends to the practice a lot of things that I told you about.
Which brand?
Chinese. Today, one brown guy came right. So we had baby mama or something like that. So they like me in Ghana, but I don't really. They just like me. Everybody came me talk to me because I talk to them too. So next thing, the lady now said, "Wow, it's even brown." And it's something is black man's life. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm just like, like, you're not talking to me about me. I do myself. I'm higher. You just saw someone will be mad and say, "Oh, what the fuck is black? You ain't talking to me. You're stupid." That's why he said that. I understand you're stupid. You know, I really understand that she's stupid. And I look at her like, why did you say that? And then, black people,
But he's not looking at you as a black.
that because I'm a good person. Because you like me. No,
Not like the rest.
yeah. Because you see something different.
You got a job.
Yeah, and he's dressed
You got the
nice.
suit, the tie.
He's not like a normal
Yeah,
thought guy.
yeah.
And then normally I start to, she sees me on the street
Yeah.
doing the
Different. She grabbed her purse.
Like, bro,
Everybody's like that.
Yeah.
Even our people, like,
Thank you.
yeah, like the Rasta culture is like that. I could be a Rasta man to the heart without locks, and if another Rasta man sees me doesn't have locks, I'm not really gonna acknowledge because I don't have locks, and identify me like that. Muslims in my area, it's a big Muslim community. If I'm wearing my fez,
Assalamu alaikum all day.
Yeah.
I still get greetings
That's
from
what I mean
people who
by-
know me
Yeah.
in the neighborhood. But random people now, somebody might have said hi to me the day before with wearing my fez. Now they see me again without it. Nothing,
Because they don't see the lights.
right?
That's
So it's like that's people are just like that. We're just like programmed to and conditioned to
discriminate.
to always be judgmental, to think I have to like society gives us an impression of what something's supposed to be,
Yeah,
and then that's
you
what
forget
we
your
all run.
humanity.
Yeah,
You forget humanity.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you forget
Right?
humanity. Yeah.
Like I'm not still the same brother walking past you. You know what I
Same
mean?
Lord,
Yeah. No, I don't have my friends on. I'm different.
forget humanity, bro. Yeah.
You just gotta learn how to deal with it and just navigate through it.
Well, I tell you, things are changing. It's changing, and it's not finished. There's more to come. A lot more to come. And they might come over here with some fake alien landings or whatever, or who knows?
Yeah,
I never seen so much UFOs in my life.
Yo, it's crazy. Everybody got a video where they saw something. Yeah, that's what's going on right now. Right now, it's
I have nothing of that until you guys just
I recorded 4 strange things in the sky last week.
Oh, really?
It was like rectangle. I don't know.
Well, you're good, because I never seen so many videos with some, what?
There's thousands.
Yeah, all of a sudden.
That's a video where they showed you the screen was sky, the sky was screaming, and I'm like,
no, the one I saw like you
Texas.
were having a news with the UFO alien.
I see the one where in Britain or wherever, where I don't know where, the dome, where they came in the dome and went over the dome, the
Yeah.
from the thing, I'm like, but I'm not even talking about that, there's more to come.
Yeah, just things. Yeah.
It's a lot of layers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I know that.
this is like all a test run for something, you know? Like, we can, sit back here, but, there's so much going down, we got people who don't know
It's
this
on normal, which is really sad.
Yeah.
even to get this knowledge that we're getting. It's beautiful, but we don't exercise it and be it. It's like really almost like a waste of time.
It's not a waste of time.
No, I'm not saying we exercise, I said it's all exercise, it's a waste of time. Because we don't really practice what we preach, not even necessarily or be what we are. Then it's like a waste of time. And you know, because what we're fighting for, our liberties, is like,
There's nothing more important than that to fight for. Yeah.
It's final.
yeah, like because what are we over here like trying to just fit in still as Moors? Like, you know, or are we really trying to really be who we really are? Like we were saying earlier about the land being inherited, right? Passed down. Doesn't have, they don't pay for it. It's inheritance. It's just like us. We're the rightful heirs. We're not supposed to be paying for anything.
Yeah.
But then in our subconscious or our minds or something like that, we're still feeding it. Like Todd just said, the only way we gotta get out of this is stop feeding it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard. That's what I'm saying. Kind of like it's kind of hard
Yeah.
because if you want to travel, have good things, go to these functions, outings, and stuff like that, it's kind of hard navigating on the trolleys, what they call TTC or the subways, gold trains.
Yeah.
You want to throw on the saddle on your horse and put in the saddle bag, your goods and stuff like that, you just get it up and go. But then they still got you on a chokehold type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and then you can't breathe, you can't live. You see? But then we all get this stuff, because I be studying, listening to other videos, everybody talking this Moorish knowledge. But are we really standing up to being cowards?
Yeah.
You know, and you don't really have to go with force and stuff, but just, you know, just let that light just be really what it is.
Sure.
What you were intended to be,
On that,
universal life.
on that, there are people like that, but
Yeah, but they're like that here, it's the same, everybody's the same around the world.
because here there are so many infrastructure,
Yeah.
but there are so many things that work you with connect to your nature. There are so many things you want to look for in the area. But back home, there are some thick forests that I know because I came from the king. That's what I said. When you want to go make some rituals from the king and all of that. That's what thick forests they go to. It's only there you see the leaf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's only there you can see the leaf. No other way.
Anywhere else is concrete everywhere.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying, that you can't really connect to anything there. There's no way you can connect. So many infrastructure, even the leaves you see sometimes or not, it's carpet. You don't even know which one is real.
Yeah.
Sometimes what
Right.
you don't even know what you buy.
Yeah. But the other part of it too is that there's uninhabited land here too.
Yes.
Like there's not infrastructure everywhere. There's jungles here too, where nobody's ever been to. Nobody's seeing what's going on in there. You know what I mean? So like Brother Talas is saying, over here, the idea is the same. Set up some type of infrastructure. Have the people who's supposed to be setting up their own infrastructure support that. And once people support that, then the people who created that infrastructure, they live forever. And then the other people die off because they're working to keep that infrastructure going. Just like he's saying, you know, they're going out of their way to make sure that this thing keeps going. When it doesn't have to include them to keep going.
Yes.
Just like with COVID, right? We were talking about how nobody's working. How's nobody working, but stuff's still going on outside? You can still go to the store, you can still go to the whatever, but nobody's working?
Nobody's thinking about that.
Like, what's going on? Right?
I'm working every day too, and it looks like every day when I'm tired.
And on top of that, they're giving you notes. to
Right,
stay
right,
home.
and they're giving you funds to stay home.
Like, couldn't you just do this
For forever? Just print the thing, give everybody 2,000 every month, and then nobody has to go to work.
Children
And
learn
society's
on
still going on.
Yeah.
Right?
You see a lot of things going on behind those, and there are a lot of things that are recording. There's a lot of discovery going on every day.
So it goes to show you.
There's a lot of discovery going on every day,
Yeah.
because I heard about some new Chinese people like going to Nigeria now.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're looking for.
They've
That
been going.
there's a lot of discovery going on. So that discovering things that people are making things
What's
attention.
Can I answer that?
They're focusing on why John Bentley.
I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna answer it, but can I kind of build on that? Could you say Chinese people? What did you say? Oriental Chinese? What did you say? Okay. So-called Manchurian Chinese or Oriental, they're taking the Albion's place now, trying to control your birthright, our birthright, to control the planet. They're trying to run the show. That's why they're spreading out, doing what they're doing. They're getting ready to
Take over.
These guys dropped the ball, they want to catch it.
So they're dropping the balls now.
I can't blame them because we
They're not doing nothing. They're not doing anything.
Yeah, we stagnant balls, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
the balls that
we want to be like that. We want to be like that.
Because part of it is the mindset, right? Part of the mindset. Like we know that who was it I was saying about our people don't understand wealth or whatever? Valentine?
Nature.
Oh yeah, grand sheep nature, right? Our people don't understand wealth. They think wealth is, get the title of money, make a phone, and now we got wealth.
I think more this is
Right,
what
right.
he's really saying is we haven't had wealth, so we don't know how that looks, how to make wealth. We haven't had that ability.
We don't understand the frequency of wealth, we don't understand how to be wealthy, we don't understand what wealth is. We don't
Wealth is your land.
So we disconnect from it, even though we might have certain things.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't understand religion, but everybody's part of it.
yes.
Everybody's in one, but they don't know what it is that they're involved in when they say, I'm a whatever denomination of a religious order.
Yeah.
So again, it goes back to those who have the knowledge, spreading the knowledge to those who don't have it, so that we can get those one or two people who do have their senses correct and they got common sense and the stuff in their brain is connecting properly. Okay, those are the ones that we could maybe do some stuff with. But other than that, it's either we fend for ourselves or all this whole stuff is done.
Yes, that's what even finance said that.
Not saying it doesn't matter.
It's two ways. You have to do that. They made it Black Lives Matter and they make it religion back. Do you understand?
They make it what? Say-
Yeah, this is
Make
the
it-
religion here, and this is the religion there, yeah.
So basically back home, right? Because when I was in university, right, there's one pastor, one big pastor that when it comes to school. Like when we have exams, like people think if you don't read, you're gonna pass. But that pastor comes and touch your head. I tell you, you know what I mean? They literally think you don't read your book like this and know what's gonna come on the exam. You know what I mean? You just touch your head,
Yeah,
you know the next question and
yeah.
everything. I'm that there at it.
I know.
I'm always like, I told you, I'm always like the black sheep. They always cost me. I'm like, see there.
The white sheep.
The white sheep, you know what I'm saying? I'm always like the anti-Christ. I don't. So when
Yeah.
pastors come and like, if you step on me, I'm gonna give him a slap. I tell them like, look, pastor, when one of the school, we step on me, I'm a slap.
Yeah.
So the person that all of them are, I know like I was new, right? They're like, you just new.
That's what you did to the pastor. Yeah. they're gonna lynch you.
And it's bro, the pastor said, ladies, this night, no sexual intercourse to your husband. I'm telling you, one day to have sex with the husband.
Of course.
Yeah.
There was a time you said nobody should put on a red shirt. Bro, I put on my red Ralph Lauren bro.
And they were mad.
Bro! It was all red, big neck, I remember big balls, bro. I put on my Ralph Lauren in school. They were mad at, they said some person will die the next day or something like that. Superstitious belief.
You know, can I go this? You know the amazing thing about this is the Moorish knowledge, they let you know what the word God means. Other,
They don't really know.
Religions or
other
schools of thought or whatever.
Schools of thought, you won't know what God means. And what the word means. You know, with Moorish knowledge, they let you know what things are, where it comes from, how it came. So you can think for yourself. And see for yourself. Like, you know, with law dictionaries, they let you know, the makeup of the things, not just the belief of things. They didn't call it a belief, like saying I was a Christian or thought I was a religion thing. I think God, now I'm looking outside of myself.
You just see
Anybody
hiding something from you doesn't like you.
Yeah, but
That's just
but
it's just simple. If you can show me everything,
But if you don't know that, and your parents are there, and your grandparents are there, you're my parent, I love unconditionally. I love my grandparents unconditionally. So they must be telling me something, right? So I gotta follow you. But if they don't know, and you don't know.
Then they're spreading wrong information.
Yeah,
I
you're not doing it on
I
purpose.
always say, if my dad says something I don't feel, or my mom says, I'm like, no, man. I don't want this one.
Because they're not teaching discernment.
They just tell me something I don't agree. Please don't argue with me since I've been young. But anything they take me to the church, they put me in the front. They say some things.
And this is not personal. This is when you get into more knowledge, then you realize it's not even their fault.
They can't help themselves.
It's not even
It's
their
like they're
fault.
talking in code and they don't know it.
Yes, and they can do it.
Exactly, it's a program,
It's
and
a
it's on
program.
autopilot,
That's
and it
what I
just
say.
goes.
That dancing to be not that say not to play.
Yeah.
Some point.
Right.
And
We keep so it's always we keep reading.
even before the war started, I'll tell you, listen, I didn't hate nobody, but I was still into the black power, say it loud and all that stuff, and if you really fucking well, I'll go down for you, get locked up and get kidnapped. But then when I realized those more scholars, those are traps.
Yeah.
That black stuff is a trap, they're really trapped up.
I see you, Mark. Yeah, go ahead. Question or comment?
No, I was like, what you were saying about getting the wrong information and everything. I was like you, getting the wrong information. I was frustrated. I was mad. You understand me? My parents took me to my parents sit down and we had so-called Bible study, right? Every Wednesday, right? And once I hear my dad was talking about Egypt and the idol of calf, the golden calf and all the things, and my dad, and then all of a sudden my dad was finished Bible study. He took me to another church, and all of a sudden I looked back and said, huh? My dad was speaking about the golden calf, and this guy is speaking so much. I get mixed up, I don't know what to do. You understand me? It was like false information. It was false doctrine. I'm getting, you understand me? I was so upset. So I said, Dad, could we go home, please? He says, no, you have to sit and listen. And so I just ignore, forget this. I just take the chair, fling it off, and everything, and walk out there, man. Because I'm fed up. I'm fed up about the two different information.
Yeah. That's why. That's the same reason Jesus turned over the tables in the church.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because he realized that there's a contradiction here.
Exactly. I'll get two information.
Yeah. But also that's why
in the scriptures, they tell you that it's about getting knowledge.
Mhm.
It's not what somebody said, and then I heard what they said, so I'm going to go with it. It's about you checking everything to make sure that you know what it is. Because once you know what it is, then nobody can take it from you. Nobody can fool you. They can't try to stow stuff in there. They can't do anything. You're going to be the one who's making the decision based on the knowledge that you have. You know?
It's like the Antichrist is like preaching to me.
Well, in a way, in a matter of time, anyway, but there's no such thing, but the negative is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
But that's one good thing about Moorish knowledge, because that takes that all away, even anger, the spookyisms and all that stuff, it takes all that away.
What did you say? What did you say?
Moorish science.
Yeah, what's that?
That's where we're at right now.
Oh, okay.
It's everything.
Yes.
There was
Moorish science study.
we were going over in the week, we were going over this thing about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, with this whole thing with the Indigenous and them respecting and honoring the Indigenous people or whatever. There's a section in here dealing with education that was interesting. Couple other parts in here, but there's something there that stood out that we'll just put that out and just get people's perspective on what this is. So Truth and Reconciliation calls to action, and this is under education. We call upon the government of Canada to repeal Section 43 of the Criminal Code of Canada. Right, so they're requesting that the government get rid of this section, right? So this is section 43 of the Criminal Code. Section 43 of the Criminal Code reads as follows. Every school teacher, parent, or person standing in place of a parent is justified in using force by way of correction toward a pupil or child, as the case may be, who is under his care, if the force does not exceed what is reasonable under the circumstances. This paper reviews the content of Section 43 and its judicial interpretation by the Supreme Court of Canada, a majority of which upheld the provision as constitutional in 2004. It then discusses past proposals to repeal the section and the legal effects that such a repeal would have, given the definition of assault in Canada's criminal code and the availability of common law defenses. Finally, public opinion on abolishing Section 43, research regarding the effects of physical punishment, and international perspectives on the issue are briefly examined. Any thoughts on that? Section 43. So if anybody doesn't know, Criminal Code of Canada is the code that they use to judge criminality. Right? And if they're telling all these parents that once your child goes to the school, the teacher is standing in place of the parent. Could that be why stuff is like that in the schools? When you go check the list of the graduating whatever, there ain't none of us on there. All these other people who came here after us on honor roll and all this type of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sister, yesterday, and this is the average mentality of people and a lot of mothers too. It's like out there, somebody I grew up with all my life in my area. The same sister, Kane's mom. Well, this little comment she made to me yesterday, after that, she's talking about the whole homeschooling and how hard it was for her to teach one of her youths French. during the time of that, this homeschooling stuff, but she doesn't know French or anything. The son pretty much like doesn't really understand it fully, but he just knows how to read it. And she can't translate it for me because she don't know, so she has to go on Google. So she's saying it's hard. So she's like, wait, what are these people doing? Like, who told you guys that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom? Who told you guys I wanted to do this and take care of these 3 children? Like, you guys take them for the 8 hours, give them back to me for 3 hours.
It's an agreement.
And then they're gonna sleep, and then you guys take them back again. I only want them for 3 hours.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's the mentality.
Well, yes,
And she love our youth, that's people. But it's just like we're conditioned to train like these people are having our youth majority of the day.
yes.
They're the parents. Really. I only come home from work. I made them something to eat, make them do their homework. Bedtime,
That's that.
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Boom.
They're not my responsibility.
Go sleep for 8 hours, wake up and go to school for another 8. Come back and only be with me for 3.
So
Yes,
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's the mentality.
Oh, it's changing.
And these are parents who still, not that they don't love their youth or anything, they still love their youth dirty, but it's just like, nah. Because I've been doing this all the whole time. Now you can't, what do you mean? Now I have to take care of them for 24 hours?
It's not easy.
24 hours? Yeah, of course it's not. So she's like, I give it up to those mothers who want to be at home and stay at home and be a stay-at-home mother, because she's like, well, I can never. I don't know. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, because the responsibility, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
A cousin, well, I was
It's not
talking
easy
to
at all.
a cousin of mine, when we were growing up, our families, like say all of us are relatives, and somebody's not around, somebody's taking care of the children.
Yeah.
Even if it was down to children with diapers, when they had cloth diapers for kids.
Yeah.
Even children that were like 10 years old, I knew how to change a diaper.
Yeah.
And put that in the basket, and clean them, and put that back on, and go about your business. But we had that family structure. But there's somewhere along the line with this generation, even in our own family now, it's like what he said, sitting in school because it's designed that way. Because before, somebody with a home, grandma, well, you called grandmother, it was your grandmother. And granddad was granddad. You know, aunts and uncles were aunts and uncles. Cousins were cousins. And somebody could straighten you out if you're acting up or they watch you, you didn't have to worry, you was a street like this or where.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
like, back home is your community that raised
That's a village culture.
You know, like, you know, when I was back home, because the accustomed to Western world, so you smoking, you remember you as a bad person and see, even though you go to church every day, but they see you that.
Automatic.
You carry gun in that, you know what I mean? So, the other perspective of people that smoke, right? So, if they see you, like, maybe, like this is like they find out these kids and somebody kid that's smoking weed or these kids and this friend, they all feel like big shit.
Well, yeah.
You know, like culture, you don't go to the building, anything bad thing, they call the prayer like yo, your boy is over there.
Yeah.
You go there, it's up. So you are accustomed to do good things.
Yeah.
You understand? So you can't, well, yeah, you do something when you're doing my business. Yeah, not my business. So you feel good doing it. Go to my business.
Yeah.
But when you know that anybody that's coming from the side can slap you when you're doing it.
Yeah. Hide himself in jail.
But what happened now is that it's almost mandatory where 2 parents are working because they have to do it. They have to.
And they got 5 jobs or whatever.
Yeah, and their children, you know, they gotta go somewhere to be looked after. So right from infancy, they're in danger.
They're in the program.
They're in the program.
What I say to that is like take away your culture and sell it back to you. Right? Because like what he's saying, and this was prevalent in all, no matter where we were situated.
Of course.
Where if you had issues, everyone needs to talk to people.
Yes.
It's human nature. If you don't, you start losing it, right? So I'm from Ghana, by the way. So there they have the saying, consolence, sanity comes from people, consolence, right? But what they've done now, and it's not just here. It's everything that's
Of course,
here is now spreading everywhere.
of
If
course.
they tell you, you don't need anyone, deal with things
Yeah,
on your own.
yeah.
So
Self-love.
go back 20, 25 years, you won't hear mental
Yeah.
illness issues, right? But now it's prevalent. Because
You're not lying.
they've trained the new generation, primarily the millennials, to just be isolated.
And it's like a normal thing here
So
with
they're
Bill.
losing it, and what they do, what you normally have in your home, you go and pay for it, you go see a shrink.
Or
So
take
that's what
something
they do,
else.
they take away what it should be your culture, what is your culture, and sell it right back.
Even in our,
Yeah, even the traditional, also the people that do it back home, they call them allowing back home. No, nobody, there's no miscarriage. These people, once they touch it, they want things like easy. And they didn't go to school, they don't understand anything.
It's not
Natural, yeah.
I was saying that I was like being homeschooled. I didn't go to a regular school. I was being homeschooled until I go to a regular school. You understand? And my mom, she has so many different teachers with their, like, there's one teacher that talks about the culture, the background, and everything. And I said to, I thought we talking about math or English or, you know, and everything.
Right.
But she keeps talking about her country and her thing. And what's so interesting that she never mentioned about math or English to me. And I was not getting anything from her. Anything, you understand? So my mom, she has to take this one out. I am serious. So she put on the other teacher in, and I realized that I'm getting something with the other person that was teaching me, and but the other person, I was not getting anything of her.
The second person or the
First person.
The second person. Yeah, I was not getting any information about like reading, writing, you know, and all those things because I had a mental problem. You understand me? And she was teaching me this first person was teaching me about money. You understand me?
You had a mental problem or they had a mental problem?
No, I have a mental problem.
Or it's not them?
No.
It's good thing that you have a mental problem.
because they said
Because someone told you that.
Yeah.
Your mentality is just more enhanced.
Yeah.
And they can't vibrate on that frequency with you.
So
they categorize and make it seem like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Taras, you want to tell your story right now? You can tell your life story right now.
Yeah.
It's either too high for your body, so that's why your body, your speech or certain might disturb because your brain is so powerful that your body can't even handle it. So it doesn't come all the way at what they call normal people. But don't worry, you're an enhanced being. Very enhanced.
This person, sorry to.
Oh, you're all right, bro. You're all right.
They said that I don't know anything about. They asked me what's 2 + 2, and I said 4. Right. And they said how what took you so long to answer that question? You understand me? Because I have to think about it. Exactly. You understand me? That's why they said that's why they went to my mom, said your son
It's a mental problems.
Your son is an idiot.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Yeah.
And they don't know. My mom said, listen to me. My mom was right. She said this, and I love her so much. She said that I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
You understand me? You're not an idiot. You have the greatest IQ and the greatest knowledge that you have from the Creator.
Exactly.
You understand me?
So,
And, 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 you know what the teacher said? Okay, boom, 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 I'm gone. Your son, I don't care about your son, I'm heading out, bye, see you. Walked out of there.
Right, and it's just too strong for her.
yeah, she couldn't deal with it. She couldn't deal with it.
You know, I'm smart, you know? I'm smart, all my teachers.
Straight up.
Yeah.
But there's only one problem I have, a small problem, is with, it's with money, that's it. They, like, they don't teach me about money at all.
So what's your problem with money? You don't know how to make it, you don't know how to keep it?
No, well, for me, when I was small, I didn't know how to, count it, you understand me? Yeah, it's like some parts of my brain, it's so hard for me to count like large money, like big money.
Mm.
Like, let's say that you give me,
Big money?
$100, right? And somehow you add more to it, right? Right? That's why it's hard for me to count it. You understand me? Yeah.
Just sometimes just practice, right? You know how to do it, so it's like
Yeah.
you don't really know. So
Yeah.
just practice.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if there was no money, it wouldn't really matter. That money's an invention that somebody put out there.
That's why
But if it was gold, let me tell you, brother, if it was gold or silver, you wouldn't have a problem knowing what you had.
Either light or heavy.
Yeah. You know, the person is well, it's almost like I've been through all that what you've been through, so that's why he made that acquisition. That's why it was a good question when you asked him what you asked. I mean, asked him because I played it to you. But now it's come up to word where people are actually confessing to what they did to children back in the days, putting dust caps on, they put them in the corner, and just making them think they got these issues. It's like psychosis. It's ADHD.
I mean,
Yeah,
Well, that's what he was bipolar.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, that's what he was bringing up now. They're doing it even now to them, but now. And what he said earlier about the woman giving up the responsibility, take my children, please, I don't know how to, and teach them French or even with our
whatever it
parents.
is,
Even with our parents. What's this? What these? I don't even know how to teach you this. How do I teach you this? And I don't even know how to.
You might as well go to school.
Yeah.
But even the way they're teaching math now, I don't even.
It's like a triangle thing.
It's all over the place. It's like, yo, you just did this one.
Psychology,
Yeah.
They have this weird way of solving
They
math
change
problems.
it. They change it.
I agree with you.
The psychology, they change it when you give it to your friends, you don't understand.
I try to wrap my head around it.
Now, come on, mom, I abuse a child.
Yeah.
You gotta go there, lesson something.
Yeah.
And now the child is trusting the teacher
Teacher,
and not the parent.
of course.
Because the teacher knows the answers,
There's
right? The parent can't
She
figure it
feels
out.
good, the teacher is helping her. She's giving kind of the one from.
Which is kind of smart on their part, right?
Well, that's
Yeah,
her, that's.
that's part of the indoctrination.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to cause stress at home.
Yeah, so anything the doctor tells you, you have coronavirus, yes, I have.
Yeah.
You know, there's no how you gonna change, no how.
Nothing.
Because when the person that will say yes, man. That's why Moorish knowledge teacher, you can't really get mad at him. You gotta get mad at yourself for, not knowing. When you gotta do your own research.
Yeah.
If somebody says you got something, go see another doctor, go see somebody else, or go do your own.
Fact check. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fact check.
fact check.
Everything.
And self-accountability.
Gotta do it. Gotta
Because,
do
I
it.
mean, you were talking about being earlier, and it's about being. I think that it comes straight back to that comment, because it's not even just about research and doing those things. It's also about being, like physically acting every day and stepping in that square and standing there and not moving from there because of someone else's words or thoughts or positions.
Yes.
Right, and that's where everybody's at.
That's
Tiptoeing.
With Moorish knowledge, I better get little tidbits.
Yeah.
Tidbits for give me the real deal.
I just damn near cursed out my own father, and I had to walk away last weekend for the same reason. Because I said to him, he asked me this question, I said to him, I'm sorry, Dad, I can't give you an answer. Your question is flawed. What do you mean my question is flawed? You're trying to tell me I'm an idiot? That's what the white man did. And I'm going, you know, just because I said but, or I gave him something other than what he was asking for, he says, I'm sorry. You know, I can't understand. Now it's an argument. It's not a discussion. It's an argument of I'm calling him stupid. I said, that's not what I said. I told you I can't answer your question because your question is flawed.
Yes.
He asked me something having to do, he mentioned Nimrod, and then he's asking me about Noah's 3 sons, and I'm thinking, I don't even know how much time, I can't conceptualize how much time is between those two.
Right.
I can't. I can't try to help you understand that your question is adding so much dogma. I don't, it's like I couldn't even speak to it.
Yes.
And he's looking at me with an expectation that I have this answer for him because he knows what I study, he knows what I like to surround myself with.
Yes.
But he doesn't know his own, you know, ignorance.
Yeah.
So you can't, it's pointless. I can't,
Yeah.
of course. I was withholding or I was, because I couldn't be what he wanted me to be. I couldn't say what he needed to be said. So now I'm the enemy, so to speak.
Yeah, you become the
That's
Immediately.
that's how it says, even in society. Whenever you disagree with what emotion you're going to, you feel it.
Right. Even though the conversation is dead.
Plans, people or friends, they tell you, oh, okay, you just see them in the pictures of each other. Because you have the picture already, anything will call you.
Yeah.
You will make a different opinion, and they say, oh, wow, I want to move a different your culture.
I had a friend who finally listened to me speak for a full 10 minutes not too long ago. He said, you know, it took every ounce of strength and mind power to not be angry at every word that you just said. And then she said, but had I not waited until you finished, I wouldn't know what I know, and I wouldn't have changed my perspective on things. Yeah, and I just said, okay, great. That's exactly. But unless they give you that space, you know, to come full circle, because it includes everything. It's all inclusive. There's no part of anything that anyone's experiencing in life right now that isn't something that we can discuss and is relative in this space.
But that's the thing, people don't see it that way, that everything is linked. Right? So,
They say this stuff.
like you were saying, we always want things to feel, so thinking is how we feel anyway, so how we feel. So when you're not doing that, that's when the drift comes in. Right? So like in the case of your father, usually my daughter is intelligent, coming to her for direction, she doesn't want to give it to me. But that's what he views he wants.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, originally when it started, it was like, he says, you know, we're starting a committee for Black Lives Matter. I said, I'm not going to say about that.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, that's the same thing I just said. I was like, well, I guess we're on the same. I don't know.
You told them Black Lives Don't Matter.
Okay, you know, sure.
Yeah. I read this one.
Oh, I think there's something else. But it's so amazing. I like to say people, I'm just so happy. I don't like it.
Yeah, stay on that frequency.
No matter what happens. Oh.
The thing is, this physical space isn't really what it's all about anyway. So.
Okay.
But I had the same, like what you said before, I had the same problem with the school system, you know, with different teachers, you know, and what it is that I think I get up like so many times and I say, you know what, enough is enough. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to, you know, enough is enough. Man. I wear my room and I start playing games. That's it. I want to hear the truth. I want to hear the truth.
That's what it's about. That's what it's all about.
So, brother, how did you find this Moorish temple?
You want to wear it? You listen to the students right here. Right there in the corner?
Oh.
Down?
No, my parents' store. I stayed there for a little bit.
Oh, you're walking by.
Yeah, just walk by and I see him, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Troublemaker.
I remember he was across the street. Yeah, across the
Right,
street.
right, right.
And I see him with no hair. You understand what I mean? I remember when he has no hair.
Oh.
Yeah,
So you know.
I
yeah.
didn't know like that. You just.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it your first time? Yeah.
No.
I know a couple of weeks
Oh,
ago.
man.
It was really
I just take a breath.
Yeah, because I wouldn't, because you see for me,
I brought the fire.
exactly, and I, like, when I get so many DVDs about these seminars and these teachings and all things, and I really like it. It builds my, exactly, it builds my vibe, you know?
Yeah.
And I want to hear more of it, you understand me?
Good. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Of course, of course.
You can't try to hide truth is truth, no matter in what form it comes in.
That's it.
They came in and rented.
And someone says the truth shall
My
set
brother
you
reminded me
free.
and
You
said,
understand me?
posted on my WhatsApp.
Yeah. I saw, maybe that's what I
Discussion.
said.
Say again?
Sickle cell?
Sickle cell.
So because of these gaps right here, we related to the 7. The 7 is chakras, hermetic principles. Days of the week.
So here is suppose that comes,
Yeah, like whatever comes in 7, that's what that 7 is. These 4 right here, anything that's 4. So,
and like even on your, you look at your head, there's 7 holes, but
right.
eyes, the nostrils, and all.
Directions, right? 4 directions.
Never eat shredded.
Never eat shredded meat.
Never eat shredded.
Elements.
All the elements,
Waiting on that one.
right? Directions, elements, anything that's in 4. Right? Now 7 also represents man, which is woman first.
Yeah.
That's perfected. And then the circle represents the earth plane. And man perfected, living on the earth plane. And then when we go through all the lessons, we're gonna read something out of this every meeting, we read something out of this. Then the book itself is going into all this encompassed in this book. In different degrees of what this thing actually is. Right? And then if we have this here. Right, so having this now includes having 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11. And then all these are the different zodiac signs. 12 zodiac.
12 disciples.
The zodiac.
We have a pen ringing right now.
All the Taurus, Cancer, Sagittarius, whatever. All that is those. And then the 7 would be you.
Islam.
Islam or you in the middle of that. Which is basically you're the Christ. And then these are the 12 disciples on the
There's a lot.
right? So you know the 12 disciples of Jesus. Right. That's actually the 12 zodiac signs, not 12 guys that went to Jesus and they learned with him and then now they know something. That's not what the 12 is. The 12 is the zodiac. You got it? Or it's too...
It's also
Yeah, I'm
okay.
Oh, you just processed it.
That's why it's solid. It's
No,
the Pentium processing is good. Yeah, that's exactly what they did to him, right?
Like,
They said like that.
you think about the things.
Yeah.
Think about
You
it.
know what, that needs to have that document. That's really,
Yeah.
when you
But it's
look at
also
it,
the brain
they
too.
need to put that up, when how you put this, they show the family so they don't fall for it, you don't show that it says, okay, put everything.
Alright.
He or she's yours, and then that's when the child lands up. It happened to me, I shut up, I stopped talking. I just said,
You know what happened? I started having doubts in those things, like, because I told my dad in traditions we came from the king, I was to practice all these traditions.
Yeah.
To heal them, if you have something they can give you a drink.
Right.
Just put a leaf on it.
Yeah, it's gonna heal it.
I've been saying that.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they just come on TV, the pastor just someone basically will be
Why have we been doing this for so long?
Yeah.
Why?
Isn't
We could just
Nigeria
like,
worse than
"Wait,
Jamaica?"
you know,
you know what I'm saying?
No, they got churches every square mile, but it's like, they got football fields every square mile.
If you see, a pastor will be like this.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Drops.
I'm serious, everybody will drop.
Like that,
They even put a foot on the
Foot, step on feet.
Yeah.
Some,
Eat
there's, a
grass.
lady, there's a lady right now.
Oh,
Literally
man.
I see one pastor always speaks between the woman and crutches.
Yeah.
why?
Jesus
Jesus
said,
power. Isn't it the Holy
Jesus,
Ghost? Catch the
Jesus
Holy
said,
Ghost.
Really speaks between the woman.
Yeah.
Tell them that Jesus, that the one
Spoke to him.
Jesus spoke to him.
want to hear what happens, or that's what he said?
Oh, I was saying there's a lady in Ghana right now. Yeah. She's a pastoress. Getting people to drink her sweat, her spit, all of it.
Really?
Making
Yeah,
millions.
because when we talked earlier, it's reminding me of like I was saying, like you condition someone and they'll just think whatever, like no matter
They're accepting.
no matter what. So I'm watching 100 right now, right? And there's a show called The 100, and that's what's going on. Like it's just like, okay, well, we're gonna follow you right now. Can you do this? Okay, we're following you. And it's like division because of who. And then they have like there's a concept they have something called the crimes, where these people they're supposed to be immortal, right? And so that's the idea, but it's fake worship, you know what I mean? So it's so deep.
Oh,
drink spit, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad because they're under the guise of
You know,
Christ.
you know,
So there's something
Guys,
wrong with voodoo. I don't think there's anything.
yeah, but
You know what I'm saying?
they're
They miss it.
not telling people.
They're using it.
They're using
In the
that
background.
power.
In the background. but they're
people
saying
don't know what
it's
the
Christ.
word voodoo means, so
People
they
don't know.
And they're telling you voodoo
Not
is
knowing
bad.
what
That's it.
the
They
God
don't
is
know.
the first religion.
You see rituals, sometimes they break the chapel for pastors, they see blood of animals, rituals, that, and that's what pastor, that's his belief. That is what he's using to do his healings.
I think rituals and voodoo.
And he's lying under the name.
Well, it is Christ.
Well, it is, you know, really it is. Because he is the
that's the whole idea of also hiding in plain sight. You know, everything they give us, it's all there. Go watch every single film that was ever created in the last 30 years. You'll have a nice historical timeline of what's happening, what happened, what's going on. Right there.
Yeah, even with cowboy and Indian movies, they got the stuff going
Right.
on.
Yeah.
You know,
Like
You know?
Banshee Kudrow says all the time when he's going after the dirty boys.
Mhm.
So is your own,
Yeah.
right? So there, before we would say, oh, it's the European. They done did what they did.
That's
And
what
now
it is.
they just sit back and we're,
Yeah, beat up.
That's why we can't even get mad. That's why it's like, it takes, when you get this knowledge, it takes away anger, takes away everything, bro.
Have you seen that, there's a, I guess it's a, this woman does an experiment. Her name is James. Yeah, she's a European woman and she says, regardless of who you think you are, if you're European, you're racist. Period.
Or the older, that she kind of.
Yeah.
And
James?
she does the
She's over
experiment
there,
where she takes the
She's
blue-eyed
losing
people and the brown-eyed people
Yeah.
and separates them, and by the end of it, the brown-eyed people are talking in the worst ways around the blue-eyed people, as if they weren't in line with them 4 hours ago. Talking and and all of a sudden they start to become what she wants them to become, just based on suggestion. Like that's how easy it is. That's how sheepish people's minds are.
that's a
You
steady
understand?
science. People don't pay for that.
Some of the students-
You know?
Some of the students get upset with her, saying, no, I'm not agree
Oh, yeah,
with
they go off. Yeah.
When they catch themselves.
But that would have been me. I wouldn't have been able to finish that experiment. I would say, I'm sorry, I no longer want to be a part of this experiment. Clearly, I know I see exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because you.
Yeah, thank you.
But that's what I'm saying. I think that a lot of what we think our people manifest and have the same process of expanding and becoming enlightened. What we think are people walking are truly sheep. There are many beings here manifest who are literally here to be empty vessels and to follow. That's what they're here for. That's what they manifested to be.
That's why I was trying to,
Which is to help.
that's what I was trying to convey earlier to Omar, where he said that.
So it's not really about them. So if they fall, sometimes it's about allowing them to be there. That's
It's
their
a
faith.
move and everybody's playing a role.
Like when I was talking about,
Just do your part.
like how the religions were designed. Certain religions were made for these certain set of people. Yeah,
Yes.
certain people are, like you said, they're meant to be sheep, so they need something to follow. They can never leave, no matter what. So yes, a doctrine was made. So you know what? Okay, this is Christianity. You want to do Jesus? Okay, boom. Well, you guys want to pray 5 times a day? Okay, well here's this Islam.
Yeah.
And
You wanna do some Buddhism stuff?
I'm gonna bring it to you again. Since the Islam that was there before, you guys don't want to practice. Okay, now you're gonna be more subjective.
Yeah.
Pray 5 times a day.
That's why they brought us to our state. Back home, we give back home, there's a traditional check. The baby that knows what the baby, that knows where the baby's part is going to go.
And then I was Omar saying too, like.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because even the name itself, no one will think about it. But certain things about me to see.
No, we're not. Yeah, you got one of those.
Don't you want to be now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, no.
Yeah, y'all know.
Yeah, first I think you know. Yeah. Immediately you got the baby from me, check on the water. See what he just said, put in.
Some people like.
Go to the hospital now, because they need the mom.
Yeah, but they don't even know that.
They don't know this thing. Believe what they I know I'm listening to everybody talk all this thing, man. This Moorish law going around, globe right now, and I'm so happy everybody is waking up to nationality and
So
birthright,
that
even if they try to deny it.
Just the fact that the conversation can be had is
Yes.
illegal.
Even in so-called Black Lives Matter, whatever, it's making people wake
For
up.
me, for my dad to utter the word Nimrod,
Yes.
like, as far as I'm concerned, that lets me know that he's at least turning in a direction that I was hoping for. Because that means he's reading, that means he's researching, that means he's gaining knowledge in his own.
It's
He
waking
doesn't have
every,
it compartmentalized, it's not organized, but he's focused.
but everybody's starting to wake up to something. They're waking up, like they're getting shook. Hey, wake up, it's time to wake up. I mean, you're like, okay, all right, what's going down? Oh, let me look into it. I mean, it's like the whole globe. But if the whole globe did wake up to this knowledge of what they call a cult, just means unknown. Voodoo means basically the first religions, science for science. And when people start knowing and being known what this the universe is putting people into knowing that, not just us, the LBOs too, because they've been lied to. Just like we've been lied to.
Everybody's been lied to.
Everybody's been lied to. Yeah, so the two major players are so-called black people, white people. That's why it's in the law dictionary, to put things in proper perspective. But the Asians have been lied to, everybody's been lied to, and they believe the lie. But now, the universe, even if people think they're in control of what's going on and making it happen, it's really.
That's what I mean about being. That's why it's so important to stay with whatever frequency that you're wanting to stay on, because what will be will be. And nobody has any control. They think that they have control. They try to gain control, but there's such thing as universal law, karma, and all kinds. And so really, it's inevitable.
And from me, first time finding up with Moorish knowledge, finding Cujo and brothers and stuff like that, there was only a few people talking Moorish knowledge at the time. On the internet or wherever, and like Grand Sheik, Cujo, and a few others. Now I never seen so many people talking about Moorish knowledge. Even if they got it right,
even if they don't know they're talking about it.
Yeah. Even
it's a beautiful ship. I know you know.
Yeah,
it's been around, so you've seen the ship.
Yeah.
And the consciousness, even like you're saying, even if it's on a whatever frequency it's on, it's being talked about.
Globally, and you got people like not just Asiatics.
I need someone to translate that thing that we put on that whoever put on the chat that time with that news report of the riots. And then the Arab news channel.
I took it to somebody.
I went to it.
I took it to an Arabic brother.
I want to know exactly what they're saying.
Basically, they were trying to, in a way, try to make it like a mockery, but he wouldn't tell me everything. He started talking about, they said something about him being a magician, magic, and he said, and then he was trying to tell me because he's into Islam. He said, well, we don't practice magic. That's not what we do. And I was like, well, what else was he saying? But he wouldn't get it. He wouldn't give me the full.
But me and Sheldon did a Q&A with, I don't know if the lady from the thing, from the news thing, or she was like somebody, but she was referencing that, well, as Moroccans or whatever, we saw this thing with, some guy getting killed and all this stuff, and then there's a Moroccan flag in it. But this is America, like, what does it have to do with that or whatever? So they were asking, okay, what it's about and what's Nobudrali about and what's his teachings about or whatever like that. So I don't know what's gonna come out of the article or whatever, but that was amazing.
That there is exactly when we did the walk. When we did the walks downtown. And then we're sitting in the food court after.
Oh yeah.
And the girls come like, why do you have that flag? That's my flag. No, it's my flag.
Yeah.
That's what I said. But see, that's the idea. Like those people are looking like, what do you mean? Why is that in America? Like, you guys are not Moroccans. You guys are not Moors. And then, boom. Now, Morocco and people from Morocco says you guys are Moors. Everybody joins with that. So then now. No, so people look like that anymore.
And then part of that same thing was us questioning her. So Morocco is not only over there, right? Oh yeah, we know. So then why are you surprised that we got it or whatever? Oh, because we're supposed to be the niggers. We're supposed to be the black guys. Don't have a culture and all that stuff. So we're not those ones. Yeah, we're not those ones.
See how it works, the universe works? Now they caught that on that, whatever the.
Yeah, I think it was BBC,
Yeah, they sent it to
BBC,
But now, the problem got internationally,
yeah, recognition, yeah.
recognition,
Yeah.
and make people curious. So this guy, let me do the research, and then they're gonna guess, what?
Yeah, losing.
What is this?
Really? You know, see, this is real.
Yeah.
See, we thought we had this covered.
Yeah.
But now it's open, and that's how you know it's real prophecy.
Yeah.
That was
Real
not their
prophecy.
intention, but
Like, and this is what I'm saying, these things are supposed to happen.
Because we had somebody had messaged us about it and saying that, you know, like, yeah, they were talking about the circus, whatever, and all
Yeah,
that
the
stuff,
magic,
but it wasn't like they were
Magic.
dissing
It wasn't
like
wasn't-
that. You know what I mean? It was like a eureka shit, trying to figure out, yeah, like, what is this? Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
It wasn't
They
like
weren't dissing it like
it wasn't like
that.
what's his name? They're trying to diss us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seti and them people, yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't like that. Because the
Yeah.
guy, he was just telling me what he said in 2 words, and I was like, but he couldn't because he was working at the time.
Yeah.
So I caught him on a little quick break,
Mm.
and this is what just happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, positive or negative, it's
Publicity,
it's
yeah.
still possible.
It's
Publicity.
Yes.
Yeah.
She said it, no one drew on me clearly,
Yeah.
so whether or not you speak
Thank you.
that
Thank
The
you.
language or not. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to know for my personal, but I don't really care, but from what you're talking about is, it's the vibration.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, go
We're
to
gonna pick the
Providence,
wisdom
or
out of it.
whatever. Now you're gonna find out
Yeah.
what time of day it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful thing, that's all.
Yeah, because the reporter lady, she went to who was it that she went to Yahshua. She messaged Yahshua because they saw him. She saw him on something
Well,
with
they
his
were
fez
recruiting.
on.
Yeah,
Ottawa, yeah. That's who she went to, and then he linked us like, yo, listen, he saw the thing. She wants to do an interview, but I don't want to do it. You guys want to do it? Like, yo, like send her, so we can do it.
Well, it's
You
too
know?
much for him.
Yeah, it was too much. It was too much. You know, but
Me,
yeah.
I'm still sending every minute, every hour, every second of the day, even when I'm sleeping and dreaming.
On Sunday, our cousin,
Lord's not.
Shante, you know Shante?
No, for real.
On the,
Yeah.
my mom, Frederica's in the wheelchair.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I brought her to the barbecue for his mom on Saturday, so I brought her, said she wants to do it. She said she.
Oh yeah, she wants to do it. Yeah, the
Do
interview.
it.
Yeah. She was telling me,
So
yeah.
would you do it?
Yeah.
You want to? I'm like, yeah, I'll be there, but you're. Which was going to be the one who and give it most information. What you want to know, what you want to hear, better off coming from this one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I would definitely be there and put in
Well,
my little gist.
One set. Yeah.
I had a confession that I need to make.
Oh, boy, no, come on. Sometimes you don't want to.
Well, this, I don't know, I'm not worried, I'm getting all off. No, what happened is this, since I come my way home sometimes, with family and people, and you share the information in your building and whatever, you get more knowledge to a certain degree. And then I'm saying to myself, I don't even want to talk to nobody
Yeah.
that ain't down with this stuff, I love you, it's gone so bad.
It's hard, bro.
Yeah,
It's very hard.
it's gone so bad, like, brother, family, children, don't, listen, like, I promise you, man, you got to confess your own, you know what I mean? I can't play this game, if you wanna just pretend that you're talking more than else, stay, that's what you don't do that, I'm saying to myself. Yeah, you see what I mean? And I'm feeling bad about that, because I don't really wanna talk to nobody about anything, if you're playing any game. You know what I'm
But
saying?
that's again a part of being and the frequency, because
Yeah.
like I went to a family function, the same thing with my father, and I realized someone touched me,
Right,
and I realized I wasn't trying to be touched by anyone in the States. Like I moved away.
Yeah, they
And
got
I've never
too
done
close to
that
your personal
before.
space, yeah.
Right. And my brother said to me, why are you always going off and being antisocial? He found me in the conveyance like 3-4 times throughout the evening, just sitting, either reading or watching a video
Yeah.
or, in my own space.
Like you can't even lie to yourself about having a good time because this ain't a good time no more.
Right? And it's like, you find yourself, like, that's what's so important about being. I said in front of everyone, I'm sorry, but I'm at a particular frequency that y'all are not vibrating on, and I would prefer to keep my space the way it is. And that means sometimes that I don't want you to physically touch me, or I am gonna go off and be in my own space. And if you have an issue with it, then you have an issue with it, and that's not my problem.
I can't even have conversations. I can have a normal conversation for real quick, what they call normal,
Yeah.
real quick, maybe 5-10 minutes.
Oh,
see you later.
Yeah.
You know, I hit you with some knowledge, you gave responded, see you later. I'm
We come at the show.
Yeah.
You wanna talk about that stuff, but no one else is on that vibration. So
Exactly.
right, I'm not talking. It's like,
Listen by
why am I
yourself.
even hanging out here? Because there's nothing in relation or common no more. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And he
You
sees
have to
me,
be.
I go to bank talk to him for 5-10 minutes, and I'd be like, I don't want to get in trouble, because you listen to me, they might fire you. I can go, but we're talking for hours, right?
Yeah,
That's like, for me, that's why for me, this thing never really bothered me. Like, I like company a lot, but I don't care to be by myself either. So like this social distance or this COVID thing, like, I think that's no issue.
Well, you're not lying, bro.
Yeah, but it's the way it's happening.
It doesn't bother me. I stay up anyway.
And if you ever been kidnapped,
I wanted to go on.
Yeah, exactly.
you know how to relax yourself.
I myself for a year by myself for like 20 hours. Like, I don't need no COVID.
That's what I see.
You go calling, how you do it?
Just change interaction, just social distancing.
Say it again?
They're trying to create human interaction.
Yeah,
Social
yeah.
distancing. So move into the past model. Because when you distance already,
Yeah.
you're already scared, you don't want that person to talk to you.
Yeah,
You don't want that person to talk.
So that's not what I'm trying to say. Oh, I get what
You
you're saying.
know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for you to pass the knowledge, it doesn't want to. You're not close to the person, at least you're close
You
to the
can't
person.
even
Vibrate.
breathe, your
Well, they're
breath
just-
can't
They're
touch.
kind of implementing what
Right
this
now,
new generation is about anyway.
Exactly.
Which is not, this is not in the flesh with anybody. Right, so now it's like, okay, COVID's like, whatever you guys are doing, do it more. Exactly, right? Let's let it be the norm. So when we're doing it, or when it's actually implemented as something normal, it's not gonna throw everybody out. No one's gonna have a big reaction to it because we've been coaching you towards it.
The problem is though that nobody is mentally prepared for that isolation.
So
They
quick.
need everybody. They need the
Majority,
recognition from everyone else.
they get rid of so quick.
But that's what they want.
Well, that's what I want, is going back to, you know, with the psychosis thing.
You want to be both.
Yes, and that's what they want to do. Now, if anybody can remember, I know Pops and I, listen, when we were growing up, there was lineups. You know, normal lineups, cash registers, even if you say you went to McDonald's, but use that principle. Each cash register had a line. Now they got these saying you gotta go over one line to get to these, or go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
But you see it coming in as they faded out, even at grocery stores, where they got cashiers open. And people go to whatever line they felt, cashier, whatever, no lines. But you know what I'm saying? But now they kind of got everybody, because I started saying to myself, when did people start acting like they were in school, lining up at coffee shops? Where they had a coffee shop.
Even this COVID thing, I
Let's go.
But you know that's what they also did do.
Before
During
you
the-
line, and I moved closer to it, and yeah, what's
It's virus. They shut down all the self.
and I told people are feeling
Oh,
so-
yes, well, you can't pay.
But now,
Yeah.
they're opening
How
the
much time I hear?
and everyone that didn't want it,
Only the
they want to.
Biggest money time here, 'cause I don't have that.
Yeah, like I'm lining up, like I'm mad that I have to line up, but I just wanna go in.
Yeah.
I don't wanna line up.
Yeah.
Like when I line up, like I just move in, I'm right behind and I realize, oh shit, let me just take a 1-2 steps
Step
back.
back.
Like I'm looking at everybody else, I'm like this with the.
They're looking at you like, Charlie, this guy.
I'm like, I'm not, I don't think anything's wrong. Like I don't think I'm gonna happen to me.
They make them mask like the most wear mask.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the only person not wearing mask.
Yeah.
You don't, I can't do anything that
Yeah.
All I do
you
is
don't know
like-
my own person, why you think that one? If I fall out, you say, what you gonna do? You can't say anything. Oh, you gonna start calling the ambulance and that. So you say the person to wear mask, right? If you wear
I
those,
think it's the third up, right? It's gonna be like, now we're trying to make money there for them.
Who wants to have to wear masks?
Well, maybe on the bus and stuff like that. Because if there is, let's say there is a bug, there's always bugs up there.
But you see
But they already come out and say,
the distancing they have on buses and trains.
going back several years back, everyone had
Yes,
this fire surge
it's not
and
easy.
didn't notice. They already come out
Yeah,
and said
well,
that.
I'm sure I had it, and
They
half
said
of it gone months ago.
So
Like
that's what I'm saying. If people were really functional,
Last year.
the gigging would have been up.
Yeah.
Because they came out and said everybody's had it, but they know they had it.
Well,
Who died?
it's really the flu.
I didn't.
So what are you gonna be dying from?
It's really the flu.
Yeah.
You know, even salmon have, I can pull up a documentary where the salmon got this, and the wild salmon.
Corona?
Well,
In seven?
Well, yeah, because
they didn't call it.
it's GMO, right?
They call it, what
Putting
do they
in
call
these
it?
to the fish.
Influenza?
Yeah, the salmon got it, they just put these numbers on the salmon. The salmon was coming down, going through the farm salmon, we're going through the wild salmon. And then there's another group of wild salmon, the red sockeye salmon, they are different and don't get it. You know what I mean, but these other salmon cross across.
So that's what happened with like a different strain in China.
Yeah.
That didn't affect North American strain of stronger than the one in China.
Like the killer jumbo bees that are returning back to.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You ever seen
The bees, the jumbo bees.
Yeah, back in the 90s, remember, we had to do like
Yeah, right now, the hornets, yeah, the hornets.
Yeah.
Some giant hornets taking over right now.
African killer bees that were. And then it gets like, hey, now what is right now they bring killer hornets. Who are trying to make hornets getting free by regular bees. Regular bees are good.
No, but
That's
that's
something
how
else we do right out in the like,
Yeah.
Florida, they release GMO mosquitoes that they carry vaccines.
Bro,
They ain't saying it.
no, who knows? They just said it. They say.
Yeah, but that's the same way, like I was saying, back in the 90s when the African killer bees. That same way with the sands right now crossing the Atlantic, right? Those bees cross the Atlantic. I don't know if bees can fly that far, but
They sure can.
and now they're even flying even further.
They took the current of the
The
wind,
hornets.
just floated it.
Yeah.
I mean,
They floated for half.
Yeah.
Volunteers, yeah.
this is big. See how we're talking about everything. See how we're talking right now? Do we really got the facts? That this was really first facts. We're just going by because they said so it must be
But then
so.
that's when we start using the highest form of science, right?
Yeah.
Common sense, right? We gotta use our common sense to figure certain things out.
Now, I
So
know,
now we got some Japanese killer hornets.
you see what I'm
Who came
saying?
here? They
Yellow
must have made
jacket.
it with them normal hornets here. So what the new hornets gonna be?
Somebody touched me something, yes.
Who live on
I didn't look at it.
Who live on there?
Some mosquitoes.
Who
Some
live-
mosquitoes out
Oh,
there.
that was a Zika. That was like 2013 was the Zika.
I didn't look at the full one.
Bro, who
Which
live on
came
there?
from Congo, by the way.
Oh.
You know, Chinese people, yeah.
Yeah,
Who live those
I bet you was a European.
Yeah, but if they can make you believe that a mosquito can be fossilized inside a piece of, what was it?
Make you
Whatever
give
resin it
antibiotics.
was in Jurassic
Yeah,
Park.
all that,
Oh,
And they
yeah,
took the blood from the mosquito and then.
because it was preserved in the,
The one with the small head?
but the thing
Anything.
is, yeah, we're gonna make him live.
Yeah, the lions.
I could look at him
But
like this.
people are cross-mating those here in North America. Yeah.
If any insects or creatures did come through, it's more like from cargo.
Yeah.
Fruit,
Yes, it's through cargo.
yeah.
transportation. But I mean, you got people in Australia. Australia has more deadly insects and creatures than any part of the planet. You know.
Yeah, it looked like a huge experiment was run there thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Weird crossbreeding animals.
But it's really easy to get a person's mind.
We're almost done. We're almost done.
Who wants to leave?
No, because there's more people with the spacing and stuff.
Oh. Well, I get what you're saying. Like I told him earlier about how you messaged me that message.
Yeah.
I haven't been studying none of these things. You know, even though every now and then they kind of get me psychologically, I get home by myself and say, "What was that?" Gee,
Yeah.
really?
Check yourself.
Is there something really happening? Okay.
Really.
Yeah.
Maybe take a deep
I have
breath.
everything.
Yeah, let me take a deep breath. I felt something funny in the corner of the lung. They got me almost.
Because you know,
And then all of a sudden, the higher self.
you know it's gonna be they're gonna pass everybody else's spot and come try to give us $10,000 ticket
Oh,
for
I
having
get
some
what you're
social
saying, though, but check it
distance.
out. Then my other something to say, would you stop doing that to yourself? You won't get that. You got something on and just go with the flow.
Exactly.
You know?
If you are willing to die, because
Yes,
you have
yeah.
coronavirus, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
You die from coronavirus.
yeah.
That's what's gonna happen.
But they can,
Well,
but the
everybody
mind game
gets
is
sick like
not.
Or
that.
anything else.
Anyway.
Hey, sis, there's law.
Rosie Posey.
You guys can sit over there. I mean.
Now there's some seats over there too. They got some chairs over there. In Islam. So we just gotta do our Quran reading and we're gonna read our chapter 10. If anybody got their Qurans out. Jesus spake to the unity of Allah and man to the Hindus. Benares, in the sacred city of the Brahms in Benares, Jesus taught. Udraka was his host. Udraka made a feast in honor of his guests, and many high-born Hindu priests and scribes were there. And Jesus said to him, with much delight, I speak to you concerning life, the brotherhood of life. The universal Allah is one, yet he is more than one. All things are one. By the sweet breath of Allah, all life is bound in one. So if you touch a fiber of a living thing, you send a thrill from the center to the outer bounds of life. And when you crush beneath your foot the meanest worm, you shall shake the throne of Allah and cause the sword of life to tremble in its sheath. The birds sing out its song for men, and men vibrate in unison to help it sing. The ant constructs its home, the bee its sheltering comb. The spider weaves her web, and bowers breathe to them a spirit, and flowers breathe to them a spirit in their sweet perfume that gives them strength to toil. Now, men and birds and beasts and creeping things are deities made flesh, and how dare you kill anything? It is cruelty that maketh the world awry. When men have learned that when they harm a living thing, they harm themselves, they surely will not kill nor cause a thing that Allah has made to suffer pain. A lawyer said, I pray to Jesus, tell who is Allah you speak about? Where are his priests, his temples, and his shrines? And Jesus said, the Allah I speak about is everywhere. He cannot be compassed with walls, nor hedged about with bounds of any kind. All people worship Allah, the one, but all the people see him not alike. The universal Allah is wisdom, will, and love. All men see not the triune Allah. One sees him as Allah of might, another as Allah of thought, another as Allah of love. And man's ideal is his God, and so as man unfolds, his God unfolds. Man's God today, tomorrow is not God. The nation of the earth see Allah from different point of view, and so he does not seem the same to everyone. Man named the part of Allah he sees, and this to him is all of Allah. And every nation sees a part of Allah, and every nation had a name for Allah. You Brahms call him Parabrahm. In Egypt he is Thoth. In Athens his name is Greece. Jehovah, huh?
You Brahmins call him.
You Brahms call him Parabrahm.
In Egypt,
he is Thoth.
And Zeus is his name in Greece.
I got that here. That's crazy. And Zeus's name in Greece.
Sorry, a couple weeks ago when you were reading too, like certain words I was
They're not the same?
I gotta go and I forgot because I wanted to reference to see if you're sick. I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
It's not the same.
Like certain words and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, whoever wrote that, they're on some.
Yeah.
They're on
Something wrong.
Yeah.
What page?
Chapter 10.
Hold up the.
Chapter 10.
Were you reading from?
Chapter 10.
No, which
No,
book?
sir, what's that? Oh, not. No, because it's.
So,
Jehovah is his Hebrew name. But everywhere he is, the causeless cause, the rootless root from which all things have grown. When men afraid of Allah and take him for a foe, they dress up other men in fancy garb and call him priests, and charge them to restrain the wrath of Allah by prayers. And when they fail to win his favor by their prayers, to buy him off with sacrifice of animals or birds. When man sees Allah as one with him, as Father Allah, he needs no middleman, no priest to intercede. He goes straight to him and says, Father God Allah, and then he lays his hands in Allah's own hand and all is well. And this is Allah. You are each one a priest, just for yourself, and sacrifice of blood Allah does not want. Just give your life in sacrificial service to the all of life, and Allah is pleased. When Jesus had thus said, he stood aside, and people were amazed, but strove among themselves. Some said he is inspired by the holy Brahma, and others said he is insane, and others said he is obsessed. He speaks as devils speak. But Jesus tarried not. Among the guests was one, a tiller of the soil, a generous soul, a seeker after truth, who loved the words and that Jesus spoke, and Jesus went with him in his home abode. Jesus spake on the unity of Allah and the man to the Hindus. Islam. So we have our barbecue coming up on Saturday, July 4th.
What part of the lake shore is that?
I'm about to get you the address.
No, I have.
Yeah.
So you know where Port Credit is?
Oh, Port Credit, yeah, down there by the lighthouse?
Yeah.
And Mississauga?
Yeah.
Or not?
Yeah, just to the west, just to the west of where the lighthouse is.
Yeah.
Just, just to the west, the
Going
promenade.
towards Jack Barrel?
Promenade.
Yeah. I'm trying to Jack.
Oh, no, that's, I just missed.
Yeah, listen, you probably know the area better, I'm saying.
Yeah,
But
I
it's,
just, when I see the lake shore is from.
Yeah, from
Toronto.
to all the way, yeah.
Yes.
So, but it's important that we try and help you brothers out in the west and try.
Oh, that sounds great. When I see the lake shore, I was happy.
Remember that.
Take a truck.
You guys probably remember that. No longer in the 80s.
Yeah, if I want to walk from where I'm at, it'll probably take me 2-3 hours.
Oh, I see.
But I mean, when I see the lake shore, I was like, okay,
Closer than before.
well, yes.
Yeah.
Even if it's downtown, the lake shore.
Yeah.
They included us here in the West this time.
Because Scarborough's kind of like.
Yeah, that's all.
Energy over there.
No, Mississauga.
Yeah.
So but when I did see the lake shore, I'm saying to myself, okay, well.
We're on Lake Shore, yeah.
I think it's 807.
Isn't it near Browns? Probably Browns. Past Browns.
Well, he said Port Credit, so I got to bring on Port Credit. Yeah. They got some good parks.
Yeah, you know more, Mary Claire, Marie Claire, Curtis, Marie Curtis. It's the one next to it.
Oh, that's a good spot, that's a neutral spot.
Yeah.
For everybody. Yeah. Very Curtis, yeah.
Yes, it's next to that one. Mary Curtis is
Yes,
too much. It's
Lottery wants a twin.
It doesn't have enough privacy.
They got
The one that we got,
Right.
is it once we get there early,
Seems like a lot of.
foliage and stuff, yeah, it's a nice hill, and there's a beach. And it's just,
Like that.
once we're there, we're gonna probably.
Investigated already.
Yeah, we filmed there one day, and I said, this is gonna be a great spot for.
Oh.
I initially wandered on the island at the end, but these guys were saying it's too much trouble, so I said, let me know if we can.
Well, especially with everything that's going on right now. Geez.
Where? Yeah, I know, but I mean,
And they would probably have people going through all the station and all this.
Construct or?
Gestapo.
Gestapo, yeah.
Basically close to that kind of big trick.
Yeah, so we're going for 12 to 5 p.m. July 4th, 804 Lakeshore Road West, Richard's Memorial Park.
And his name Richard after a young boy died and his heart ended up going to the mayor.
I thought it was the condolences to my
Google it,
wife,
Richard
Straw.
Memorial Park.
That time would be Mayor Hazel?
No, Richard, something spec.
It's Mary Hazel's still the mayor.
No.
Yeah.
When I know she was there for a very long
Well,
time.
that's what
She was there
She was
forever.
there when I was like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy, yeah.
Hurricane Hazel?
Hurricane Hazel, Hurricane Hazel.
She wasn't
She wasn't playing.
playing. She had those people
Hurricane
in-
Hazel.
Yeah.
But she looked the same from the beginning, I'm like.
Yeah, she,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
she
She was
engaged.
just old.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, she was
From the
over
jump.
years.
From the jump.
Yeah,
30 years back, she still looked the same. She's
I think she's still alive. I know she's still kicking.
Yeah.
If she passed, I'm sure they would.
They would
Yeah,
be a
you'd
big.
hear about
You
I
never
haven't heard
know.
anything.
You never know.
Yeah, she was on that. Yeah, she was on that adrenochrome for sure.
That's true.
Her last,
But guess
But
what?
she was there for-
Down,
Yeah.
getting taken out.
Straight.
Possibly.
Getting taken out.
I know that she was the mayor. I used to do gymnastics in Mississauga, and we did a lot of stuff for the city, and I was maybe 12. And that's 25 years.
It's a lot more.
It's not.
And she was there before.
yeah, she was, like you said, she
So the park,
looked that same way.
the park commemorates Richard. Wolinski.
Stop.
Don't bite your tongue, don't bite your tongue.
14-year-old boy whose heart was donated to Mayor Robert Speck in 1971. The park is also home to a 5-foot-tall peace monument bearing the inscription "Planet Earth is our home."
That makes it more interesting. It really does.
You got money to spend for it?
Time was the song close out.
It's terrible.
5 on the left, 2 on the right. A lot of Father of the universe.
A lot of Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. By day. His holy prophet. Islam. Ashe.
Like how?
It was too much, man. It was too much.
I don't know where my point went to, but I never hit it like power stuff. He probably was the man. I don't know where he went. You know me, I say forever, right? I don't want to say too many things, but I said, I know, so that told me what I said. Here it comes.
Duck it up. You know they like to duck up when Tallahassee comes around. Tallahassee comes around, they're ducking.
Oh, yeah.
Well, nothing to do with Tallahassee.
Ain't that something? Sometimes tell you that don't talk about what you have to do.
Everybody's good? Everybody's good?
Yeah. I was just with them yesterday.
I think he had a phone. He might have went outside.
Yeah,
For real.
I did know.
So what?
Saturday, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Origin time. Islam Moors, it's all the Moors worldwide.
I'm gonna be taking the portrait. And